How's it going, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. I had to think about that. Thank you for bearing with me being a little later than I had anticipated. My garbage disposal decided to stop working. So was working with the repair guy. That was fun. So anyways, I'm sorry about being a few minutes late, but thank you so much for bearing with me. As you guys are joining in, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Share this with anybody. Y'all know the drill. Also, as always, be sure to support your favorite content creators. You can find me on Cash App or Venmo, Shay Sade. And as always, I will be sure to acknowledge all super chats. So just to get right into today's topic, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Kimberly Nicole Foster. She is a very popular, successful Black feminist. She has a network, I think it's called For Harriet, where she does a lot of content specifically related to Black women and Black feminism. And she has some interesting things to say. She recently did a video basically about why Black women don't get married. And she entitled it, "Being Good Won't Get Black Women Wifed." And this was in reference to the controversy around Adam 22 and his recent marriage to his wife, who then went on to do a sex scene with another man. And then just other, I think, adult entertainers who have gotten married. And so she used that as a way to juxtapose this idea of how you have these adult entertainers who are getting married and getting princess treatment, and you have these good Black women out there who are not. And so I listened to some of the video, and I thought she raised some points that were very interesting that I wanted to address, because many of the things that she said, while I don't necessarily agree with all that she said, I think there are a lot of women out there who think this way, or who have these struggles when it comes to dating, mating, marriage, all of that. So I figured I would just break it down because this is a very relevant topic, especially today. So that's what I'm going to do. Again, guys, if you're on here, hit the like, share, subscribe button, and I'm just going to get right into it. I don't really know. Y'all know copyright can be a little bit tricky. So just to avoid any copyright issues, I'm just going to be playing the audio of this. I think I have like a still image from her actual video, but I did link to her full video. If you guys want to see it, audio, visual together, you can just check it out on her personal page. It's Kimberly Nicole Foster. Right now, I'm just going to play the audio, and then we will go from there. He said, I can't with you guys. Okay, let me pull this up. All righty. Okay.
6 years. The other one lasted 3 years.
Oops. Okay. So again, it's called Being Good.
Whores get the princess treatment. Okay.
I will be filming.
Whores get the princess treatment. Okay.
I will be filming some spicy content for my
Okay, I'm not being rude, and this is not to be disrespectful to this girl in any single way. This is not coming at her at all, but I'm offended because I am a 29-year-old professional in a respectable job. I own my own place.
Okay, let me just, already out the gate, y'all. Already out the gate. It is so interesting to me when women start having conversations about what makes them qualified, and oftentimes they lead with their job, or they lead with, oh, I pay my own bills, or, oh, I graduated from college degrees. And it's so interesting to me that when the topic of relationships, romantic relationships specifically, come up, one of the first things I often hear women do is bring up their accomplishments. And I think out the gate, that shows me the mindset that a lot of women have as far as what they value in a relationship, which oftentimes is accomplishments. Many women want to be with men that they see as accomplished, they see as well off, they see as being able to provide, they see as being able to really be that trophy husband, for lack of a better term. These are things that women value. And this is not just something I'm making up. This has been scientifically documented and all across the board. Even in the book that I studied, The Dating Divide, right, written by two sociologists, they spoke to, again, the desire that women have to be with men who are at their level or above their level when it comes to college degrees, money, socioeconomically, all of that. So women oftentimes lead with that because that's what they're attracted to. But again, there is this lack of awareness that men don't really, that doesn't turn men on. If you meet a guy for the first date and the first thing you're saying is, oh, I graduated from here and there, and I went to Stanford or went to Berkeley. My kids went to Berkeley or went to Harvard or whatever. It's like, dudes, they don't really care. If you don't look the part, they're not giving you the time of day. And so it's always so intriguing to me when women want to talk about how qualified they are, that they lead with the accomplishments, when that's the very thing men usually don't care about. Anyways, what's going on, Bella Rings? It's so good to see you, you guys. As always, be sure to check out her page. Love her content. Let's get going. Let's continue.
Pay my own bills. I pay my own way. I have only had 2 boyfriends in my lifetime, and the one lasted 6 years, the other one lasted 3 years. I don't even post my ankles, much less my thighs, much less my ass on social media. All you getting is Head and Shoulders like the shampoo. All you getting is a mugshot. Bitch, I never got pregnant, dropped out of school, had an abortion, joined the gang. If you was to look on social media right now, you will find nothing. You're not gonna find news. You're not gonna find me fighting people online. You're not gonna find me doing none of that. The most you'll see me doing is cracking some goddamn jokes. And I'm single. It's not to be disrespectful to this girl.
Okay, so I don't know if y'all heard that. So I don't know if y'all heard, she basically went on the whole diatribe as to the things that she's done. You know, she said she's only had 2 relationships. She does not thirst trap online. You know, she is modest. She is not highly disrespectful. She's not ratchet. She's 29 and she's still single. Now, I want you guys, there was one part of the section I think is an important part to know. I want to call out. I think I'm going to replay it and then I will get into the rest of the video, because this is an important piece to consider when a woman is looking back at her life and asking herself, why am I not married? Okay, I'm going to just play it real quick.
My own place. I pay my own bills. I pay my own way. I have only had 2 boyfriends in my lifetime, and the one lasted 6 years, the other one lasted 3 years.
Okay. She said she's only had 2 boyfriends in her life. One lasted 6 years, the other lasted 3 years. This woman, to my understanding, is about 29. One lasted 6 years, another lasted 3 years. This woman is 29. Why is that important? The majority of her dating and mating years, she has been in a relationship. She was dating somebody. She was committed to a person. And for whatever reason, neither of those relationships worked out. The woman is 29. She said that she's been dating someone essentially for a total of 9 years. So essentially, let's say she started dating at 20, just for hypothetical sake. She started dating at 20 and she was in a relationship with people for 9 years. That's 9 years that she was off the market. So if she didn't end up marrying any of those people, and now she's 29, the reason she's not married is because she didn't marry any of those people. You know what I mean? Like, it's not rocket science. It's not like, oh, wow, there's some great mystery. Wow, like the universe is trying to give me show me an answer that I can't see. It's like, you dated 2 people for a total of 9 years. You didn't marry any of those people. You broke up with them. This is why you're not married. Like this is just logical common sense. And so it's this entire conversation to me is really interesting, because it's like, it's starting off making this assumption that there's like some esoteric, like mysterious reason that good Black women or that Black woman can't get married. And sometimes it's just that you date people who weren't good for you, or you date people that you decide not to marry, and that's it. Like it doesn't have to be that deep. Like, you don't need to pray about it for 5 hours. You don't need to fast. You don't need to go get tarot card readings. It's like, those relationships didn't work out, so therefore you're not married, period. And then there's no, God isn't trying to do something to you. The universe isn't trying to send you a sign. It's like, well, you chose to date people that you didn't want to marry, or that you no longer married, and that is why you're single. And again, sometimes I think it's really important to keep things just that practical and that simple, because listening to this woman, like, you would make it, the way the conversation started is as if there's been all these crazy things that have happened. She's been single all her life. She's been waiting. The right guy hasn't come. And none of that was true. She said she was in a relationship. First thought is like, if you wanted to get married, why were you in a relationship with a guy for 6 years and that didn't work out? Or why were you in a relationship with a guy for 3 years? Like, that's a really, really, really long time to be in a relationship with somebody, especially if you are a good girl, especially if you are God-fearing, especially if you are marriage-minded. 3 years is a long time for you to just be dating somebody and not know whether or not you're trekking towards marriage. 6 years in particular is an incredibly long time to be in a relationship with somebody and not know whether or not you're trekking for marriage. So again, I think it's good to start off with the understanding of, ladies, if you really want to be married, you want to be intentional about that. If you want to be married in your younger years, don't just be dating around just to be dating around, finding yourself in between the legs of other dudes. Like, if you want to be married, then it is okay to be very clear with that. And usually men know pretty early on. I don't want to put a timetable on it, but usually men who are serious minded about getting married, they recognize their wife generally early on. They don't need to wait no 4 or 5, 6 years just to decide if you're the one. So again, to make this simple, she's 29. Why is she not married? Well, for 9 of those years, for essentially the majority of her adult life, she was dating men that she decided not to marry for whatever reason. So that's likely why she's not married, not because there's some curse on Black women, or not because there's some mysterious reason Black women can't get married. It's just because those relationships didn't work out. Let's keep it that simple sometimes. Anyways, guys, like, share, subscribe. If you're on here, y'all know the drill. Also, as always, I'll be sure to acknowledge all super chats. I am breaking down the review from Ms. Kimberly Nicole Foster on why being good won't get Black women wifed. Let's continue.
I don't even post my ankles, much less my thighs, much less my ass on social media. All you getting is Head and Shoulders like the shampoo. All you getting is a mugshot. Bitch, I never got pregnant, dropped out of school, had an abortion, joined the gang. If you was to look on social media right now, you will find nothing. You're not going to find news. You're not going to find me fighting people online. You're not going to find me doing none of that. The most you'll see me doing is cracking some goddamn jokes. And I'm single.
Yeah,
okay.
Again, you're single because you didn't decide to date any of the boyfriends or marry any of the boyfriends. One that you were with for 6 years, other one you were with for 3 years. I think that is a logical deduction. Now, again, I don't know the situations behind it. We don't know what happened, if there was cheating going on, or if they just naturally grew apart, or if it was a toxic relationship to begin with, or if one wanted kids, one didn't. Like, we don't really know why, but we just know that of the majority of her adult life, she was dating men that she no longer decided to marry for some particular reason. So based upon just a logical deduction, that is why she is not married. Again, it's important to keep it that simple, because sometimes we can get so in our feelings about something that is quite logical and can be changed. And then women, they can get into this whole, maybe marriage isn't for me, or maybe God is doing it, or maybe the universe, or maybe the spirit, or whatever. And they put all these mysterious, magical reasons behind something that is truthfully practical. And I think this is a prime example of being like, okay, those didn't work out. If you want to get married, now just be more intentional, perhaps next time you're dating. And maybe it's the opportunity for you to sit down and be like, why was I in a relationship for a long time with people and it didn't lead to marriage? What about me, or what about that person caused this disconnect, and how can I do better? So it could be a learning opportunity. It does not need to be a death sentence to your relationship. Let me just say that. Anyways, let me continue.
Okay.
Where does this come from? I absolutely believe that it comes from evangelical Christianity.
What?
There is absolutely a central part of Christian doctrine that is do the right thing, stay in the box.
Okay, so so you guys know that I am a Christ follower, right? And I will say this. She said some interesting things. She said there are some essential aspects about Christian evangelicalism, which is about doing the right thing, staying in the box. The wording behind that is really curious to me. I will say I absolutely agree with her that there are certainly very religious circles out there that are all about trying to just force certain rules upon women, really, or just certain rules upon people in general, for the purpose of controlling them. Maybe it's because they want ultimately their money. Maybe it's because they want their loyalty or whatever. But yes, there definitely is a history of religion and Christianity being used to control people. We know Christianity was used to colonize supposedly to civilize supposedly different people. So there's definitely a dark history behind Christendom that I can acknowledge. With that say though, that is not actually the true gospel, and that is not the true meaning of what it means to be a Christ follower. A lot of times when I hear people talk about some of the different rules or the regulations that are expressed, whether it be in church settings or expressed in some of these religious circles, I think what happens is that people sometimes can preach and try to use it as a way to control. But what's being forgotten from this conversation is that a lot of these supposed rules are actually principles. God himself is a good God, right? Now a lot of people out there do all kind of crazy things in the name of God and screw people up. God ain't got nothing to do with that. But I'm like, the essence of who the Most High is he is inherently good, and he loves his creation. He loves what he created. And so anytime there are quote unquote rules, really what's going on is that there are principles, right? There are laws that are in place. We were all created with a particular purpose in mind. And so therefore, we were also created for a particular function. When we are operating according to that function, then things happen, things move smoothly, things happen the most effectively. When we operate outside of that function, then things start to malfunction. So when I think of different rules, right, or when I think of different things that have been taught in the past, I understand that some people were just trying to control me, or some people were just trying to instill fear. But if you really understand the heart behind some of these different principles, for example, let's talk about not fornicating. Some people might say, oh, that's just you trying to control me. That's you trying to put me in a box. But the reality is the female body was not made to have all these different foreign members going in and out of it. Right? And so you may say, oh, okay, liberation for me means I just get to sleep around all the time, but that's going to cause harm to your body. That's going to cause harm to you psychologically. That's going to cause harm to you emotionally. And so for me, I've come to understand a lot of the different teachings as principles that are meant to guide me towards the most optimum way to live. Not that God is trying to control me, not that really it's about me being controlled at all. It's about I was created for this particular function, and therefore I'm going to experience the best, most fulfilling life when I am operating based upon this function. Think about it. Let's say I take an iPhone, right? I take this iPhone and I'm like, oh, you're not supposed to put electronics in water. But I say, oh, putting electronics in water, that's you holding me back. So I put this thing in a phone, I put it under a waterfall, I start, taking showers with my phone because I'm like, y'all trying to oppress me. I should be able to do what I want with this phone. Technically, if I want to take a shower with this phone I can, but because this phone was not meant to have water on it, if I take it to the waterfall, if I go swimming with this phone, if I go under the shower, you know what I mean? If I put all this water in this phone, then it's not going to operate according to its intended purpose. So that's how it is for us. When there are these principles, these guiding principles that God is teaching us, it's not to try to control us, it's to try to teach us, hey, I created you and I know the thing that's going to make you the happiest. I know what is going to help you operate based upon your fullest capacity. When you live outside of those boundaries, then things are harder for you. So that's, for me, that's how I look at it. I don't look at these rules as, oh, this is for me to try to be controlled. I'm like, no, these boundaries are for my safety. For some reason, we live in a society where people are like, rules are bad, rules are oppressive, truth is oppressive. And I'm like, actually, no, boundaries are good. Saying no is good sometimes. Saying this is right, that is wrong is healthy. Because at a certain point, if there are no boundaries, at a certain point, if there is not a distinction between right and wrong, if there is not a distinction between true or false, then things start to become chaotic. And that already is, I'm like, just within the first couple of seconds, I'm like, I think there's an opportunity to shift the way we're looking at this. You can look at this as, oh, these are rules that are trying to control me. Or you can look at this as, these are principles that are here to teach me how to live the happiest, most fulfilling life. And that is how I see it. Okay, let me continue.
Don't transgress the boundaries and you will be rewarded. That's unfortunately not how life works.
Again, it's and again, so this whole language of like, don't transgress the boundaries and you'll be rewarded. Again, I don't see it like that. there are the laws, but laws of the universe are always at work. If I throw a ball up into the air, it's going to hit the floor. And so I've said this before, anytime people are actively trying to work against the laws of the universe that have already been established that are not going anywhere, that is when they run into issues. And a lot of these principles that you see in these spiritual circles, yes, there are people who are crazy, and yes, there are people who use it to control, but don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Look at the overall principle, because that principle is there to help guide you and give you wisdom. Like I said, you throw the ball into the air, it's going to hit the floor. That's the principle that nobody can escape. It don't matter if it's oppressive to you. The law of gravity is at work. So that's how some of these spiritual principles operate. But I don't think that there's understanding about that. Some women just think that if there's a rule, if there is not even a rule, they think if it is said this is right, this is wrong, they see it as oppressive. And it's like, no, honey, this is not about oppression. This is how the laws of the universe operate. And when you operate outside of that, you're probably not going to be as happy or as fulfilled. Again, that's how I see it. Let me continue.
Unfortunately, it's a lot more random than that, a lot more unexpected than that. People really underestimate how much luck goes into finding a partner.
She said people overestimate how much luck goes into finding a partner. I think the only issue that I have with that framing is, if that was true, then we're basically saying the first couple of thousands of years of women of humanity were lucky, and women of this generation are not lucky. Because remember, up until this point, marriage has almost been like, marriage was just assumed. And all cross-culturally, cross-races, ethnicities, women just got married. Now, marriage practices look differently, and they had, different customs depending upon the area. But women generally just got married. They just did. Like, it wasn't like, oh, if I'm lucky, if I'm blessed enough, if I'm holy enough, or I'm not. Like, women got married. So to say that finding a partner is a luck thing, if that was true, then we're basically now assuming that all the women for the last thousands of years who got married were lucky. And we're also assuming that women in this generation who are not married are not lucky. And I just don't know that that really makes sense to me. Let's continue.
We think that we can check up all the right boxes and do all the right things, and maybe it helps to move strategically, but not really. Like, it's just mainly about right place, right time, right age, right city. Two things happen.
Okay, so now again, marriage is this kind of ethereal, magical thing that happens when all the stars in the universe align. I don't personally agree with that. That sounds like the kind of, and maybe it depends on the kind of marriage. Like, if you want like maybe the fairy tale kind of relationship marriage, the stuff that we see on movies or we saw on movies like growing up, then maybe that makes sense. But I'm like, if you want to be married, there are things that you can do to prepare yourself. And there are enough people out there who want to be married to where that can happen. With that said, another thing about this conversation that I find really interesting is that, first of all, the fact that we're even having this conversation. I know Kimberly Nicole Foster is a proud Black feminist, and part of a feminist ethic is being really free from patriarchy and free from a lot of these expectations that are put on women. One of them being marriage, one of them being, the need to collaborate with a man in order to build. Like, that is a very old, archaic, oppressive way of looking at things. So the fact that we're even having a conversation about marriage from a Black feminist, to me, seems quite strange, given the nature of what she's about. I'm like, why would it even matter to feminists whether or not they wanted to marry? Like, wouldn't that be, isn't marriage under this current Western construct connected to a patriarchal system that you yourself are actively trying to fight against? Like, so just the premise of the conversation to me is already a bit strange, given what I think Black feminism stands for. But apart from that, marriage is not, again, it's not some like magical equation that needs to happen in the sky of the universe. And if the stars don't align with the moon don't align with Saturn, then you ain't getting married. Like, it's really not that deep. And like I said, if that was the case, if the marriage was all about luck, then what you're saying is that for hundreds of thousands of years, women have been lucky because most women got married for hundreds of thousands of years. And then now, just current generation of women, for whatever reason, is not lucky. And I'm like, the logic to me does not add up there. And then, guys, here, if you were here, like, share, subscribe. Shout out to you, Dame C. Also with the 2, it says, Shay, hey, she's acting like she never had options. Yeah, I don't understand that. So anyways, let's continue with the breakdown.
When, I've seen this, with Christians, you either internalize it and say, God, why am I not good enough? Why didn't I do the right thing? I'm going to try to be even better. Or you become very, very judgy and look down on other people and say, I can't believe you are living this good life. I can't believe it. And sin and shame and, all of that.
You know what? I agree with her in this, right? I agree with her that yes, in Christian circles, marriage can definitely be used as like a comparison, can be used as a tool of comparison among women, where it's like, you got married, so therefore you're blessed. You're not married, so therefore you're not blessed. And again, sometimes I'm just like, it's not always that deep. Now, there are times in a person's life where being single, there's a reason for that. And that may even be God's will for you in a particular time, in a particular season. But most people are not called to be, well, at least if you look based upon the Christian doctrine, most people are not called to be single. Most people don't have the gift of celibacy, because to live as a Christ follower and be single means that you are to be celibate, and most people don't have that in them. So out the gate, like, that's not like God is not up in the sky like, okay, all of a sudden this entire generation of people are meant to be single when I'm the one that created marriage, right? And marriage has been going on for the last thousands of years. Like, that just, again, logically, that doesn't make sense. And so I think what happens is that, truthfully, again, there are a lot of churches out there, unfortunately, who do use the Bible or things to try to control people. There are a lot of ministries out there who are just lying to women instead of actually giving them the tools that they need to actually learn how to be married. And then, truthfully, let's just have an honest conversation about Black women, period. Forget about church, forget about religion, forget about any of that stuff. It's like, being married is not a big value. Being married is not a big value in the Black female American ideology. It's not. It is just not. Having a career is, getting your bag, living your best life, finding yourself, being free. Those are the values that have been taught to us. Now, marriage maybe later on, after we find ourselves, because we like the way it looks and because of the social status it gives us. But how many of us as young women were actively told from other women to not worry about relationships, to not worry about marriage, to focus on our careers, and that'll come later? How many of us in our young dating prime years were actively told, whether from women in our life or from our friends, that we did not need to worry about men? I know so many women and that's the case. So many Black women. So it's like, another thing that we have to remember as Black women is that at the end of the day, in the culture in America, it is not a huge value. And so when you want to talk about why there's so many Black women who are not getting wifed, one reason is because it is not a cultural value. We don't see it as important. We don't see it as valuable enough to tell young women, hey, when you are of marrying age, here's how you should operate, or here are the different things to look out for in a partner. Here's the way that you can prepare yourself. No, we are told to focus on your career, focus on your job, get your education, get your money up, so that if the nigga leave you, you can take care of yourself. This is the stuff that we're told. Literally, verbatim, I've heard that. Verbatim, I heard that. And so many women too. So, like I said, women can get sometimes in these Christian circles and these religious circles and not get what they want, and they blame it on God, or they say, oh, well, I haven't obeyed enough, or it's the universe, or it's the men, or it's the water, or it's this, you know what I mean? And there's all these reasons they can't get married. And sometimes it's really just a lot more practical. It's like, maybe you're not married because when you were marrying when you were in your prime years, it wasn't a priority. And then you spent no time preparing to learn how to actually be a wife. That's why you're not married. Now, that's not to say that you can't change. It's not to say that you can't learn. It's not to say that you can't become more marriageable or understand. You absolutely can. I mean, I've interviewed women in their 50s who figured out later on in years how to be a wife and got married. So like it can actually happen, absolutely happen, but it's not supposed to be some just like magical thing that you meet this prince, he just comes up on your doorstep and he's like a freaking billionaire, and then you guys are going to run off in the sunset and get married. That's a Disney movie. Real life is the preparation that you would put into learning how to be a good worker at a corporation, the pressure that you would put into, or preparation you put into getting a college degree, is also the same amount of preparation you need to put into actually learning how to be a good wife, period. And if that's not a value, which it's not in Black American culture, if marriage is not a value, then we cannot be surprised when women aren't married. So again, a lot of the stuff to me is really practical. Let's continue.
Conclusion, leave Jesus alone. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I don't agree with that. Yeah, just let that go.
Adam 22 just got married to his now wife. Her name is Linda the Plug, and she's a porn star. And he posted a wedding video on Twitter. He has a big YouTube channel talking with rappers and porn stars.
So you guys are like, what happened? Basically, she was, and again, you guys, you can go back on the actual page. I linked it down into the description if you want to catch the full video. She was actually playing she's playing a video, I guess, of Adam 22 and his wife when they got on their wedding day. And so it just had, music in the background and all the beautiful photos of the ceremony or whatever. That's what she was playing. Now she's going on to just, I think, this talk a little bit about the husband of this lovely lady over here. Okay.
Rappers and porn stars.
Let me go back.
He has a big...
Let me go back.
Media personality. He has a big YouTube channel talking with rappers and porn stars. And his now wife, Linda the Plug, has a huge self-produced porn business, just sick. So together, they're just making an ungodly amount of money.
Also, a really important caveat, he himself is an adult entertainer. She's not like an adult entertainer that just happened to marry a random YouTuber. He himself is an incredibly successful adult entertainer. He has been doing so for years. There are previous videos of her talking about how she literally watched hundreds of times her husband sleeping with other women in front of her. So they're both adult entertainers. This is an important backdrop, because the way she's describing it, it sounds as if this woman is an adult entertainer or corn star, and he's not. And that's not true. They are both corn stars. So Water seeks his own level. This is a prime example of two corn stars, right, marrying each other, working in the business. Her business, her successful business, is largely connected to his platform. Largely connected. Apparently, they've done a lot of scenes together. He himself has done hundreds upon hundreds of scenes with women. So that is a really important caveat to this, to the entire thing she's about to explain.
Next, I want to go to Alex Cooper. So this is Alex Cooper of Call Her Daddy fame. And she is now engaged. Let's see if we can find the engagement post.
Okay, I think now she's just showing examples of this woman over here who got engaged, who was also an adult entertainer, aka a corn star. You know what I find really intriguing about this entire video too? Again, you can check out the full video on her page, link to the description. The conversation that she's having is about Black women and why they don't get wifed. She's now taking average everyday Black women who don't get wifed and comparing them to multi-millionaire white women, white adult entertainers, white corn stars. So she's comparing Black average everyday women to rich white women. To me, that seems like a really interesting comparison when the whole premise of this is what Black women cannot do in their own culture. So it's like, if Black women can't do it, why would you compare them to white women? Like, that to me, I found really, 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 really strange. Like, yeah, it just seemed really strange to me. Let's continue. Okay, so yeah, so now she's just, if you look at the video, she is looking at different, I think, the engagement post for this woman over here, who's also an adult entertainer, who also married another successful entertainer. Okay, let's move on to the right.
And two women.
Okay. All right.
Bring up those two women, Lena the Plug, and who was just married, and Alex Cooper, who just got engaged, because those are examples of two non-Black women who Alex built her brand off of talking about sucking and fucking, okay?
Because
Alex throughout
they're porn stars. They are adult entertainers. Y'all remember when Kevin Samuels was like, do not compare, like, don't compare your life to the entertainment industry, celebrities, because they operate in a completely different world. This is a prime example. She is a corn star in the entertainment industry. They have a different set of ethics, rules, all of that. So again, the comparison to me here is already a little off, because it's like, yeah, a corn star would marry a corn star, right? Or yeah, an adult entertainer would marry an adult entertainer. Like, that's what would happen. Like, they're in the same field. But that doesn't necessarily apply to average everyday, Black women or Black people who are not, making money off of going online, being naked, and having sex. Like, the comparison to me is already off. Oops, did not mean to do that. Let me go back here real quick. Sorry about that.
Feminist.
Okay, let me go back here really quickly.
Who Alex built her brand off of talking about sucking and fucking, okay?
She's a corn star.
Alex, throughout her 20s, built a very big business with Sophia Franklin talking about being whores. Like, that's what they call themselves. Talking about how good they suck dick.
Yep.
The idea that if you are just chaste enough, okay? If you downplay the number of sexual partners,
what?
There's this obsession with talking about quote unquote bodies on the
okay. Okay, so this is to me where I think it just really goes off the wall personally. It's like, you're looking at a corn star, right? I don't know how she does it. You're looking at them and you're being like, well, see, they can get married. And it's like, yeah, they married other corn stars. They married other entertainers, other people who are in the industry. Duh. It's not surprising. The kind of woman that she's talking about, professional woman, aspiring professional women, the kind of men that they want are likely not corn stars. I doubt that she would want to marry a corn star. What they're also not talking about is both of the women that they mentioned. I think Sophia, for example, I think is her name, is Adam 22's wife. It's Sophia or whatever. But anyways, Adam 22's wife. What they're not going to talk about is, yeah, she's married to this successful media personality. She's married to this multimillionaire. She also watched her husband sleep with hundreds of women in front of her. Hundreds. There's a video where she talked about the first time she witnessed her husband having sex with another woman in front of her, how she cried, and then she had like a mental breakdown, emotional breakdown. She watched her husband screw hundreds of other women. So again, these are all important details to have, because to just compare a porn star and say, oh, well, they can marry successful multimillionaire people, so therefore, if a porn star can do it, then you can just be a hoe and marry people. It's like, no, that's not, no. They're in this category over here. Porn stars are marrying porn stars. Adult entertainers are marrying adult entertainers. That is what they do. You over here are in a professional space that operates in a different set of rules. Or even if you're not in a professional, even if you're more of like maybe a blue collar or whatever, these men, by and large, care. They told you what they want. They care about body count. They don't necessarily care about your accolades as much. If you have a degree, cool. If you don't, cool. It's more of, do you have good interpersonal skills? They care about how you look. They care about your reputation. No man, if he is, let's say you're working with him, he's a VP at a bank, right? He's at a banking institution or whatever, right? Or he's working at like a Forbes Fortune 500 company or whatever. He's not trying to bring a well-known porn star to the company dinner. He's not doing that. He's not bringing a woman to the company party to meet his boss that the world knows has been ran through. It's a different set of ethics. It's a different set of values. And so to me, the comparison to me is so strange, not only because she's comparing white woman to black woman, which is like, already, why are you doing that? Is this some Miss Ann? Like, that's giving Miss Ann syndrome stuff to me. And I know she would not be agreement on that. I know Black feminists would never say they want to be a white woman, but that comparison to me is very much like, that's quite interesting. Secondly, why are you comparing porn stars and entertainers to average everyday people? We don't operate in the same set of rules. You're talking to a woman who has literally watched her husband sleep with hundreds of different women in front of her. Eventually she joined in and they made money off of that, and that's how she was able to start her porn career. But I'm like, I wonder, of the different women who would listen to this and agree, what percentage of those women would be okay seeing their husband sleep with other women all the time? What percentage of women would be comfortable seeing their husband or their boyfriend or man sleep with hundreds of women? Most women aren't. So it's like, they're not even in the conversation. You're not even willing to do what those women did to get those kinds of men. And then truthfully, you wouldn't want those kind of men. A lot of women wouldn't want to marry a porn star. They wouldn't want to marry a porn star. I doubt she herself would want to marry a porn star. So again, the comparison to me is just bananas, because it is not an apples to apples comparison, folks. Again, guys, if you heard, like, share, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. Also, shout out to Mona D. I saw you in this. Saw you hanging out in the comments section. Love seeing women here that got some comments. And shout out to you. Also, guys, be sure to support your favorite content creators. If you like what this channel is about, the best way you can show that you like me is by showing support. So be sure to hit the Cash App, Venmo, share, and as always, I'll be sure to acknowledge our super chats. Okay, let's continue.
Black anti-feminist / misogynist side of the internet obsession with talking about how many men women have had sex with, obsession with talking about, oh, we don't want to be stepdaddies and all of that.
This is not an obsession. This is men now telling you what you want. If you want a particular kind of man, then it's important for you to understand what that man would want. And so this is why, to me, the comparison of, you're comparing porn stars, adult entertainers, to average everyday Black women who want to probably marry white collar workers is literally bananas to me. Because it's like, they're not in the same world. And then when men the men that you want tell you what they want, now they're obsessed. Now they're obsessed with baby mamas or bodies or whatever. And it's like, I don't think it's an obsession. I think they're just telling you this is what you want. Like, if you're wanting a particular man, if you're wanting a successful man that is making this kind of money, doctor, lawyer, engineer, a business owner, whatever, and he is telling you, I would prefer to not be with a woman who's been ran through by the entire community. And he's telling you, I would prefer to be with a woman that doesn't have kids because I don't want to have to manage that drama. He's simply telling you what he wants. Women have made it very clear what they want. They want a man who is successful. They want a man, ideally, who is over 6 feet. They want a man who's muscular, who's handsome. They want a man who's emotionally available, but can also protect you. They want a man that's going to give them the freedom, but also be, it's like, everybody knows what women want. Everybody knows that. So it's like, what she's describing now is men being like, this is what we want. But I don't know why it's seen as like, oh, there's some obsession. It's like, no, it's not an obsession. It's just what they want. And if you want those kind of men, then it's important for you to understand that. At least that's how I see it. Let's continue. Okay.
That's bullshit. The men who want to get married. And they're not choosing virgins. They're
okay, so again, virgins, porn stars, average everyday women. You know what I mean? Like, so I hear what she's saying. It's like, yeah, men choose whoever they want. They're not choosing virgins, granted. But the kind of men that you're wanting, the kind of men that most of these women are wanting, the high value men who are white collar positions, are generally not choosing porn stars and adult entertainers. The ones choosing adult entertainers are other entertainers, other people in the industry. Both of the examples that she gave are men who are themselves adult entertainers or porn stars, or are actively in the industry in some way, shape, or form. So like I said, let's be clear. They're over there in this category. They operate in a completely different set of rules. If you want to be that woman, if you want to be in that space, okay, there are consequences that come with that. Also remember that now the wife of Adam 22 has literally has seen her husband's name been dragged all over media for the last couple of years. How many women out there want to be connected with a guy who has publicly shamed himself and who have men who actively despise him and think that he's a simp? How many women want to be connected with a man that has that kind of reputation? So again, their category over here. The woman that she is talking about is in a category over there, and the men have already said what they want. Now, if there's an issue with that, okay, that's a whole other conversation, whatever. But don't conflate the two. These most men over here, men that you want high, value men, godly men, some of y'all will say, men that are successful, men that are loyal and faithful. You want a man that is loyal and faithful? He's not trying to be the woman that has 100 bodies. It's generally not what's going on. Let me continue. Let's continue.
Not choosing women with no children. They're choosing the women they like.
Actually not true. There are men out there who are definitely not choosing a woman with no children. And the exception to that rule is if you look like Ciara. If you look like her, okay, if you look like her, then you might get a pass. Okay? If you're what they call an 8, 9, or 10, if you're in that kind of category, then you have men out there who may be willing to overlook that because he just looks so good to them, truthfully. But like I said, that is a very small percentage of women, and you have to look the part. And again, nobody wants to hear that because now you're getting into the colorism or the featurism or the texturism or the body shaming or whatever. And then now these men are misogynists because they have all these ideals and they have all these bodies that they prefer and they have all these preferences. And it's just like, if that is the man that you want, then it's important to understand what they want too. So no, men absolutely will say no to baby mamas, exception being if she looks good enough. And you have to ask yourself, how many people look like Ciara? How many people can actually literally walk down a runway? You know what I mean? Like, most people are not paid to look good like her. And again, she's also in the entertainment business, so it isn't even really, it's not a fair comparison. Let's continue.
That's it. That's it. It's not about, I don't have any bikini pictures. No. The woman who made her living selling fucking bikini pictures laid up with a man right now.
Laid up with a man who also probably has photos of him nude sleeping with other women because he himself is an adult entertainer. Let's not forget that caveat. It's not like here's some corn adult entertainer over here and she married a freaking priest who happens to be making a multi-million, he's making millions and also owns a charity and he's going to white collar. It's like, no, these are entertainers that married entertainers. Again, it's really, really, really important to understand the nuances here. Nuance does exist. And this is why, to me, this conversation you're just saying, oh, well, the porn star got married, so therefore, just F it. I should just be able to sleep with whoever, and the right guy is going to marry me is literally bananas. Because, yes, you'll be able to attract a guy, but are you able to attract the kind of guy that you want? Are you able to attract a guy that's worth marrying? Are you even worth marrying? Is marriage even of value to you? Anyways, let's continue. Okay.
It's not that. And it fucking makes me so frustrated that there are so many people, particularly Black women, internalizing this idea that if you are nice enough, pleasant enough, friendly enough, fit enough, modest enough, chaste enough, that one day the 6 foot tall $250,000 earner of your dreams is gonna look at you.
That is, she just said it right there. Y'all heard, let me just go back. Let me just go back because she said a lot in that just maybe 10-15 second little portion. Let me go back and play that.
Fit enough.
Let me go back. Okay.
Black women internalizing this idea that if you are nice enough, pleasant enough, friendly enough, fit enough, modest enough, chaste enough, that one day the 6 foot tall $250,000 earner of your dreams is gonna look at you. No.
So y'all notice she didn't say if you're nice enough or modest enough or whatever, that a guy with good character that you get along with is going to love you and you guys are going to live happily ever after. Or, a guy with a good heart, a God-fearing man. She didn't say that. She said a 6 foot tall, $250,000 earning, successful man is going to. So again, there's these high qualifications. She's already telling you what she wants and what these kind of women want. 6 foot or taller, $250,000 earning or taller, likely highly educated, highly successful in these circles, high social status. This is what these women are wanting. So she's saying, oh, these women get mad that just because they pray, they're not getting the top 10, 5, 1% of men. And I'm like, well, that's the problem. First off, let's just break this down. If you are a woman of God, or you are a Christian woman, you say you want a godly man, you can't say you want a godly man in one instance and then put all these extra worldly, carnal, or fleshly qualifications on it. God may send you a dude who's 5'6", but he has a good heart and he's God-fearing. He may send you a dude that's not making 6 figures. You know what I mean? Because like if you look at the Messiah himself, he was not the tall, handsome, big one with all this money. He was on a donkey, a humble dude on the donkey, hanging out with the sinners of the society, with the poor people of the society. He was not trying to actively climb the social status. So if you yourself are serving that, or serving the person who said, I have come to serve, I have come to be a servant. If you yourself call yourself a worshiper of that being, then you can't now say, okay, I'm going to follow after God. I'm going to be humble, but then now put all of these extra qualifications on the kind of husband that God needs to send you. He may send you a man that's humble. He may not have a degree. I said the dude may be 5'5", but he has a good heart, but he has a good character, but he's God-fearing, but he knows how to pray for you, but he's a hard worker. But the problem is sometimes these ladies go to church and they sit under these pulpits, or they sit under these pastors who lie to them and feed them all this garbage. Don't talk about transformation. Don't talk about humility. Don't talk about, pride. don't talk about the internal qualities. They just say, if you just pray, if you just go to Bible study, if you just give me tithe and offering, the God's going to bless you. And then they get upset when it doesn't happen because it was a lie. It was like, God never said, if you give $100 every single day, then on the seventh day, I'm going to send you a 6'6", 600,000 earning man. God, he never said that. That was never guaranteed. It was not guaranteed. If you just pray enough, then God's going to send you a husband. That was never a component of the gospel. So let it be clear, that has nothing to do with God. A woman having high expectations and thinking that God has to meet them, that has nothing to do with God. That is, maybe somebody lied to you, or maybe you have some qualifications, or maybe you have some desires that are maybe prideful, maybe they are beyond your level, or maybe they are on your level, but you just need to figure out how to actually be in a relationship with a person. But like I said, it's not God's fault. It's not God's fault. And also, let it be clear, if you're wanting the top 10%, because that's essentially what she just described, maybe even the top 1%, a person who's at least 6 foot tall, which already now you're the minority, person who's making $250,000, that already is a minority. College educated, that's a minority. He's Black, that's a minority. Like, so if you're wanting a really, really small percentage of the male population, and then you're going with this kind of willy-nilly, I'm just going to just kind of float and then I'm going to meet him, and you're not actively preparing yourself and being proactive and being competitive, well, of course, you're not going to have results, because you're wanting a man that is incredibly unique. You're wanting somebody that already has a lot of women probably competing for him, and you're not willing to compete also. So if you're not willing to be in that position, if you're not willing to make yourself available or whatever it may be, then you cannot be surprised when things don't happen. That is not God's fault. It is not the universe's fault. It's not because you are meant to be single as a woman. It's just, okay, there's some missing pieces here. Are your expectations realistic? Are you even marriageable? And are you even actively putting yourself in a position to be married, to be found? Or are you hiding in a bushel over here and you're in prayer meetings every 15 seconds? Or you're not, you're at, picketing on lines, or you're on these I hate man groups every 15 seconds, but then mad secretly that you're not married. It's like again, you have to be practical with this stuff. Like, we do have a part to play, and I'm not saying that you have to force it, but we want to be realistic, honestly, about where we're at. Like I said, if you are wanting a top 10%er, then what does he want? And if what he wants to you is oppressive or misogynistic, then you can't try to shame him into thinking differently. If men on that level have already said, we prefer women who don't have kids, we prefer women who are at a certain size, we prefer women who are, if they've said that, and you think their desires are misogynistic, or their desires are fill in the blank, then again, you can't be mad if you don't end up with that kind of man. And it's also not the universe's fault. It's not God's fault. It's not that women are, it's none of that. It's just, are you willing to budge? You know what I mean? So truly, water seeks its own level. And I think sometimes there are women out there who just are not into the men who want them, or they want men who are above their rank. I don't know how else to put it. And like I said, career does not mean that you having a PhD does not guarantee that you're going to be dating somebody who's a PhD. Does not guarantee you're going to be getting, it doesn't. You may have access to those men, maybe in college or in maybe particular work environments. But at the end of the day, if you don't look the part and you don't have the personality or the temperament that that particular man is wanting, it's a no deal. Let's continue.
No. So do what the fuck you want to do. Do what the fuck you want to do.
Women are doing that. Black feminists are doing that anyways. Black feminists are already doing what they want to do, which is why, again, I don't understand really. I found this whole topic to me kind of curious, because I'm like, Black feminists been doing what they want to do since like day one. That's like sexual liberation. So why are we even having this conversation? We know that's what y'all are about.
Oh, the men who want to get married. They find someone. The men who want to be partnered, get partnered. It's not about child support. It's not about alimony, which, by the way, less than 10% of people who get divorced even have to pay alimony. You don't want to do it. That's fine. It's fine. I'm not even really up in arms about not wanting to get married.
I don't know. I don't believe. Personally, I don't believe that. No woman is this passionate about marriage because she doesn't care about marriage. No woman is this passionate about marriage because she doesn't care about it. Like, I don't know that I believe that personally. Just based upon this video. Now, maybe there's other videos that I don't know, but like based upon this video, it's like, no, you definitely seem passionate about it. And it's okay. It is, let me just say this too. Like, it is okay as a woman to be like, I just want to be married. You don't have to necessarily explain it. You don't have to justify it. You just be like, I actually really want to be married. And that is okay. It is absolutely okay to say that. For some reason, I think in this society, admitting that there is a desire for a man, or admitting that there is you feel like you need men in a particular sense. Oh, yeah. I mean, that is just off code. You just should never do that as a Black woman. You should never say, actually, I need a man. Actually, yeah, I want to get married. Like, you're not supposed to do that. But it is okay to just call a spade, because everybody can see it anyways. Everybody knows when a woman is lying to herself, or everybody knows when she's saying one thing and doing another. Like, we already see it. So it's okay to just own it. I'm just saying in general, like, remove the stigma from saying, you know what, I just want to be married because I just want to be in a relationship with a man because, yes, I want to submit. Yes, I want to learn how. Yeah, okay, I want to be picked. You got to remove the stigma from that. Let's continue.
Don't give us that fucking bullshit. And then as a woman, don't fucking be talking about, she wears a thong bikini. And by the way, the man that Alex Cooper is engaged to, a legit, real ass Columbia grad entertainment executive. Mm-hmm. Not a slouch. She's
entertainment executive. Remember that in the entertainment business.
Got hundreds of hours of material online of her talking about fucking in cars and giving oral sex, you know? Like, why didn't that stop him? Because he likes her.
And also, what is he doing? Again, we're not asking what is he doing. She just says, okay, he's a media entertainer. Of what? Does he himself own corn adult entertainment businesses industry? You know what I mean? Is he himself have scenes? Is he himself? What is he doing behind closed doors? I doubt he is a God-fearing man that just wants a faithful woman and himself is faithful. And I doubt that. That is not happening. So again, what is he doing? Because the kind of man who would actively say yes to a porn star has a particular mindset. And it's likely not the kind of men that these women want to marry to begin with. Let's just keep that.
Because he likes her.
What's going on?
It's because Black women are indoctrinated into the Christian modest woman BS. So many Black women I know.
This is not Christian modest BS. As a woman who is a Christ follower, I can actively say, as somebody who was celibate until I got married, I don't regret it. And it wasn't because somebody forced me to do it. It wasn't because I was like, oh, if I'm a virgin when I get married, God's gonna really, none of that. It was something that I decided to do as an act of worship to God. And I understood ultimately it was for my benefit. I don't feel like God didn't owe me anything. Universe didn't owe me anything. It was like, yeah, there is a benefit to me not sleeping around with a whole bunch of random men that I'm not going to marry. So that was a benefit to me. I don't regret that. I have never met a woman in my life who has regretted being celibate and then getting married. And now I have met countless women who have regretted previous sexual experiences. I've met that. But a woman who consciously made the decision of, hey, you know what, I think I want to be a virgin. I want to wait until marriage. And she's doing that for an act of worship to God or whatever. I've never met a woman who has been mad that she's preserved herself. But I've met countless women who have regretted previous sexual experiences. So again, when I talk about principles, some of these guiding principles that I think she started off saying are like constrictive. These guiding principles are actually here to make it easier for women. That's, I think, what is missed from the conversation. Saying don't fornicate, don't sleep around. You know what I mean? Don't overindulge. Don't eat too much. These are actually things that help our life be more effective and over help our life to be more enjoyable. It's not trying to restrict us. It's actually trying to protect us from harm. Okay, almost done.
Are heavy into the Christian life. Yes. And even a lot of Black women who are not Christians are still grappling with a lot of that teaching.
Again, Black women, there are those who grew up in that church, but we also grew up in a culture where Black women were consistently told through the color purples of the world, the Oprah Winfrey's, the living singles. There are so many different examples of us being told that we don't really need marriage. Men are kind of a nice to have, but not a necessity. So again, when you grow up with that kind of brainwashing, you cannot be surprised when you're not married. When you grow up in a society that tells you explicitly, right, or subtly, or whatever it may be, that marriage is just nice to have, or you don't need these ninjas, literally, again, you can't be surprised if you hit a certain part of your life and you're not married, because it just strictly was not a value. And you weren't taught how to do it. You didn't seek it out. It wasn't that big of a deal. That's why you're not married.
A lot of that ideology. The alimony these men are mad about is actually child support. Once they lose sexual access to the mother, their fatherhood becomes real suspect. One thing about white women, they gon' get married. Yeah.
They gonna get married.
And I am not somebody to put, non-Black men or white men on a pedestal, but white men trying to get married too. You know why? Because they understand that marriage is free labor. Correct. Free labor. Somewhere in the neighborhood of $100K plus worth of work for free. Yeah. So anyways, you saw both of these women who are quote unquote whores get the fairy tale princess treatment. Whores get the princess treatment. Okay?
This is bananas. Oops. Bananas. What I said again, the whores who got the princess treatment also married other whores, other porn stars. Like, this is, again, ridiculous. Because you're looking at white women, by the way. She's comparing Black women to white women. Let's just use that. Black women over here, white women over there. Why you would do that, God knows. Anyways, you're starting there. Then you're comparing white or Black everyday women who want white collar men, professional white collar men. You're comparing them to white female entertainers. White female entertainers. This makes zero sense to me. What's going on, Edward? Hey, if you want to call in, Edward, let me know. I'd like to get your feedback on this stuff. Yeah, it makes zero sense. So this whole thing to me is bananas. At the end of the day, men, the kind of men that she explicitly said that she or women like her want, those kind of men have already said what they want. Unfortunately, what those men want is considered oppressive. Right. Okay, and all good. I'm in a meeting right now. I'm in a justice. Okay, all good. Yeah, what those men want is considered oppressive and misogynistic and whatever. Fine, you don't have to accept the deal, but you also can't be upset and you can't be mad if you don't get chosen, if you're not picked, because you've already shown that there's a difference in values. So like I said, comparing Black women over here who want professional white collar men to white female entertainers who married white adult entertainer, like it's not really a fair comparison because they're operating in two different worlds. Almost done here.
Okay, that's it. If those ladies were Black, would they have the same outcome? No, and that is the point. The point is that the people who want to get married to the people that they want to marry, the people that they like, the people that they find value in. We let men who have no intention of ever.
Yeah, okay. Again, that's bananas to me, because now she's making it like a race thing. And I'm like, this is not to me a race issue. This is like a different, it's like almost like a class issue. a social circle issue. Porn stars, adult entertainers over here, white collar professionals over here. They operate based upon a different set of rules. But now she's making it a race thing. And it's like, no, I'm sure that there are probably black porn stars who marry other black I'm sure there's that happens in some realm. Now, black porn stars are generally just not as well paid. They're just not. They're generally not as well paid as the white ones. It's a whole other conversation. But I'm sure in some world that exists. But y'all don't want to marry an adult entertainer. These black women out here, how many of those black women in those comments, again, want a loyal, faithful man? They don't want a man like Adam 22 who's been on camera sleeping with hundreds of women. And his wife had to watch him sleep with hundreds of women before he said, okay, let me propose and say I do. She watched him sleep with hundreds of women and then eventually joined in. But like I said, how many women actually want that? Most don't. Most don't want that. So again, adult entertainers over here. You, black women who want white collar professional men over here, they've already told you what they want. If you don't accept what they want, that's fine. That's your right. But then you can't blame it on God or the universe or race. Y'all don't have the same values. You just don't have the same values. You literally said, over 6 feet, you said $250,000, college educated, successful. She went down the list. You're looking at a very small percentage of men, the top, 10%, 5%, 1%? That's what you're looking at. Those men have told you what you want, what they want. Unfortunately, you say it's misogynistic. Or you say, oh, you're just obsessed with body type. You're just obsessed with bodies. And then you compare them to porn stars. And they're just like, but we don't want to marry porn stars. We don't want to marry porn stars. We want to marry Bless in Nigeria, right? We want to marry Maria, right, from Colombia, who knows how to cook and is nice and doesn't have, you know what I mean? Like, they just want somebody they don't want to have to sit here and argue their preferences. It's like you meet it or you don't. And so again, I think it's important when we're having these conversations, this stuff is really practical and really, it's a lot more simple than I think people have made it to be. A lot more simple. Okay? It's like, at the end of the day, here are the rules of the engagement. You apply or you don't apply, period. But for Black women, if we live in a culture where marriage has not been valued, marriage has not been seen as a cultural value, we are taught we don't really need men. As a Black feminist, you definitely don't see marriage as a necessity when marriage is the very thing that is connected to the patriarchy that you yourself are trying to fight. If that's you, if you're anti-patriarchy, against all these marriage standards, against all these things, then you cannot be surprised if you grow up under that ideal and then you align with that ideal and you're not married. I guess, I mean, maybe I'm weird. It just seems like common sense. It just seems like common sense. Anyways, what's going on? I see Mr. Z here. What's going on, Obsidian? Okay, in the chat. Okay, y'all been going on a rant. I'm almost done. And then, okay, so it looks like we have some call lines in here. Okay. Let me finish this. You guys, if you want me to open up the call lines, send some support, send some love on the super chat, y'all. We've been going for some time. So hit the Cash App, Venmo, share, they'll go the drill. And let me finish this thing up and we'll go from there.
If those ladies were Black, would they have the same outcome? No. And that is the point. The point is that the people who want to get married to the people that they want to marry, the people that they like, the people that they find value in. We let men who have no intention of ever being serious people talk about alimony, talk about child support, talking about being stepdaddies. It's like, you ain't even got nothing going on. Classes Kim came out. She did. I'm sorry.
Wait, I think I have to rewind that just a little bit. What? I'm like, wait, what?
People. Same outcome? No. And that is the point. The point is that the people who want to get married to the people that they want to marry.
Yeah, that's
the people that they like.
That's common.
The people that they find value in. We let men who have no intention of ever being serious people. Talk about alimony, talk about child support, talking about being stepdaddies. It's like, you don't even got nothing going on.
Okay, that sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Ms. Tripson, can speak to this. That definitely sounds like a pot shot at blue collar men, which I know she's done in the past. Because it's like, she's already said that she wants the college education. She alluded to that earlier in the video. Now she's talking to the men who don't have anything going on. In her brain, based upon her logic, the men who don't have anything going on are the men who do not align with the, college educated, at least, $250,000 earning, 6 feet or above. So to me, that definitely sounds like a pot shot at the blue collar men. And then she literally goes on to say, "Oh, I'm classist."
Classist Kim came out. She did.
Yeah. So she just made a pot shot. She just made a pot shot at blue collar men, essentially. She made a pot shot at the men who she sees are below her level. That's, to me, now you're going everywhere, because those kind of men who don't have it going on, you're not even talking to them. They're not even in the conversation. So there's no reason to bring them up. The men that you're talking to are the ones that you want. 6 feet, $250,000 earning, college educated, social status, all of that. Those are the men that you're talking to. Again, when those men clearly articulate their desires, you can't shame them into changing them. And also, as women, we can't be surprised if we have not been trained or taught how to get along with those kind of men, how to get along with men, period. We can't shame them. We can't say, "Oh, it's a race thing," or "They're just misogynist," "Oh, they have all these unrealistic standards." It's like we're going in circles. Like, at the end of the day, some of us strictly don't know how to be wives because we weren't taught to be wives. It was not seen as a cultural value, period. Then we have expectations that are largely probably unrealistic. And if they are realistic, we're not necessarily willing to do what we need to do to actually get those men. So that we don't put in the work. And then when we don't get the results that we want, then we say it's racism, or it's because these men they don't have enough together, or they're misogynist, or it's the colors and features and texturism, or it's the misogyny, or it's the water, or it's the air, it's the universe, or it's God, and it's everything other than us. And I'm like, at a certain point, it's just good to look in the mirror and be like, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe there's opportunity for change or involvement. I think, to me, like, it's okay to just be like, maybe I don't actually know how to do this. Maybe I don't really know what it means to be married, or what it means to be a wife, because I was never taught to. I was told that I should just get my career, and that this magical prince was just going to show up on my door, and that didn't happen. And I'm upset about it. Like, owning that, to me, I think, is a more honest, helpful discourse. But like I said, when we kind of make it all these things that it's not, in my opinion, it doesn't really get to the root cause. Okay. All right, guys. So I know we have a few in the back. You guys, if you want me to open up the call line, show some love on the super chat, y'all. I'm going to do a quick break. I think there's like 30 more seconds on here, and then we will go from there, y'all. So like, share, subscribe, social love on the super chat. If you like what's going on here, and then if all is well, then I'll open up the call line. Okay, guys. What's going on? It's Remain's fault. She's jamming out. Yeah, she's okay. So it looks like I got Mr. Z. I'm gonna add you on because I know you've been hanging out. I always like talking to you. So I might bring you on, you guys. If I get, let's see, I'm gonna bring Mr. Z on. Also, Mr. Obsidian, if you want to call in, feel free to do so because I know you've had your interesting history with Miss Foster. So feel free to do so if you want to call in Mr. Obsidian. Oops. Okay. And we are almost done. I think she got like 30 seconds or 15 seconds. Like we're almost there. Thank you, Dane C says keep it going. Thank you, Dane C. Thank you. It's Jermaine's fault with the 2. It says it's my fault. Okay, so we got Obsidian here. You can call in. Mr. Z, you can call in. I'll open up the call line to the general public if I get at least 10. If I get at least 10 super chat, I'll open it up to general public, and we go from there. Okay, what's going on, Mr. Z? I don't know if Mr. Obsidian's here. He's welcome to call in. I know he has a bit of a thing. Can you hear me? Or are you there, Mr. Z? Okay, he might be.
Can you hear me, Shay?
What's going on? What's going on? Okay.
Okay, okay, perfect. You can hear me. Okay, another one. Thanks for having me up.
Yeah.
I did a review on Miss Kim Foster also. I did a review on this video also, and you hit some of the exact same points I did. It because it's and that's a good thing because it shows that both of us see a pattern here, right? I see Kim Foster as your standard issue angry feminist troll.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I see brothers calling her masculine in the comments. Let me be very clear. Kim Foster is not masculine. Kim Foster is a petulant child who's intellectualizing her misandry. Right? This is I was never chosen by the type of men I think I deserve energy. Right? What Kim Foster is raging out about is about her features and the fact that nothing she does will garner her the type of attention that Brittany Renner gets. That's why you caught it when she said, the whole comment about being fit, and she paused there, right? And that's why she did a review once of Brittany Renner a few months ago, and Brittany Renner speaking about, going to the gym 3 times or plus a week, and she did a review of that because I would argue her thing was, listen, Brittany, nothing I will ever do will ever garner me the attention that you get, right? Kim Foster is not masculine. She's a petulant child throwing a temper tantrum. Just because she's Harvard grad, just because she's intellectualizing her misandry, don't let her being verbose and using 3 and 4 syllable words and hiding behind philosophers and like intellectuals from yesteryear, don't let that disguise the fact that she is literally just an angry troll, just mad about how she looks in the mirror and what that does or doesn't do for her, right?
So, and you're saying you got this from this video, or you're saying
from multiple from I've been following Miss Kim Foster for a very long time, so this is not the first time she's kind of mentioned the whole thing about being fit, but this is among one of the first times where she actually went all the way into like being good. Like what purpose does that necessarily serve, right? She's what she's really saying is like respectability politics won't work for Black women, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I'm like, for me, this is me personally. I'm not one to get online and rate a woman's looks.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see no reason to do that. So I'm listening to just what she's saying on this video, and I'm like, to me, just the math isn't mathing. I mean, I think towards the end, and we still technically have, I think, a little bit more I want to play. But towards the end, where she's just like, oh yeah, I'm being classist at this point. Yes. It's like now we're getting to the core issue because the comparison to me didn't make sense, right? She compared first of all, white women, white adult entertainers to Black average everyday woman who aspire to have a professional men. And I'm like, white collar men. And I'm like, they're not even in the same category. They're not in the same category. So it's like already you're starting the conversation off based upon a false.
But Shay, you're expecting her to be logically consistent. It's not. It's about bashing black men all the time. It doesn't. It's if black men are on the left, I'm bashing the left. If black men are on the right, I'm bashing the right. If black men are in the center, I'm bashing the center. If black men are behind me, I'm bashing them for being behind me. If they're ahead of me, I'm bashing them for. It's a black radical feminist concept, right?
Radical feminist. Okay. So
you know what I'm saying? So
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so you're saying of the time that you're following, you're saying this because it's not you're saying this is not about logic based upon what you have what you've read.
That's why you also caught the hypocrisy of Kim Foster being a feminist talking about marriage, right? When she herself has said she does not want to be married or have children, definitely doesn't want to have children, right? So, but yet she's speaking this way, right? Because it's really is, I'm going to intellectualize my misandry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. That to me was strange, especially when she was like, she went on like a good 60-second rant and was cussing, was just like, she was specifically about marriage. She said, I'm, so mad, and was throwing F-bombs about this lie about marriage. And she's like, I don't even care about marriage. And I'm like, no woman is getting this emotional about something she doesn't care about.
Thank you for catching that. Thank you for catching that.
So okay, I'm almost done. I'm gonna play because I think literally there's like just a couple more seconds. I want to play and get your feedback. Again, guys, like, share, subscribe. Shout out to you, Dane C. It says it's also about her hate for outspoken black men. Okay. I've seen a handful of her videos. I'll kind of like pop in every so often when I'm just like, okay, what's going on in the world of black feminism? I did happen to go to a museum over the weekend that was it was exclusively black feminists. And I almost feel like I want to do a breakdown of it because it was the most disturbing, trashy thing I've ever experienced. I don't think it should even be called art, but it was like, it to me was a full display of radical black feminism, what we've all known to be true about it. Let's just say it was like super Swirler. It was like a super.
Yep.
It was.
I'm glad you know what it all. Hey, I have one of my subscribers, and I always go to white male genitalia because at the end of the day, black feminism is really about white male genitalia. Eventually they're gonna lead to the white male crotch. I'm just saying. I'll pause right there.
And that's a whole side note. And I think I'm literally gonna do like a super Swirlers of San Francisco or something like that. Because it was like, literally, it was crazy because it was cold. It was talking supposedly about the black African diaspora. That's supposedly what it was about. You go in there and there are like no black artists, no black male artists. It's all black women. They just happen to all be feminist. And then there's a consistent swirler theme, and it's like not even like cute or romantic. It's like straight up like slavery race play kind of stuff. It was gross. So that's a whole other thing.
At the end of the day, and
they're a black feminist. They're all black feminists.
I would like to direct you to Michael Bloomberg's wife that he's separated from right now, but they're not divorced. I'll just pause right there. Go ahead. Not Bloomberg. I'm sorry. Bill de Blasio. I don't know why I said Bloomberg. De Blasio. His black wife that he's separated from right now. Y'all go look up her history. Go ahead.
You said it's Jermaine's fault. It's my fault. Jermaine, you're funny. Okay, so let's continue.
I'm sorry, but that's the truth. I mean, the people who don't even have nothing going on talking about, I don't want to get married. I don't want to lose half. You don't.
So this is the part to me where it gets a bit disingenuous because it's like you're not talking to those men. She's now referring to men who, based upon her logic, are not on her level. So you don't even need to converse with them because they, to your point, don't have the money, don't have the status, don't have. So it's like, why are you even talking about men who you wouldn't even consider to begin with? Let's focus on the men who you do want, and then figure out.
Shay, we answered this. What did you say you went to this weekend? What did you say you went to? What was it focused around? If you live in a nation where you're trying to appeal to a certain demographic of men, then you want to defecate on another demographic of men every chance you get. And it doesn't matter that your boyfriend just so happens to be black and you happen to be black. And you say you don't want to be with a white man, but every chance you get, you defecate on the black man. I'm just saying, what is black feminism really about? I say it's about the white male's crotch.
So you think this is a black feminist mating call?
First, let's put this out here. I've been calling Kim Foster a classist a-hole for the longest. I've been. She didn't have to say it. I'm happy she finally said it. Right. I've been calling her that for the longest because I saw it for the longest that this really is another black feminist, petite bourgeoisie railing against black men because she fashions herself and thinks of herself in this higher class. Cool, you're part of that higher class, but it's not garnering for her what she thinks it should. She has the money, right? She's rubbing elbows with a particular class of black women, white women and white men. Cool, but she doesn't have that lover. She wants a man that represents the class that she feels that she's in, and she doesn't have that. Even with her current boyfriend, she does not have that. And you can tell that's a sticking point, not just for her, but a whole host of black women that occupy Kim Foster's space. Their issue is that they can have the money, they can have the connections, they can have the job or career, et cetera, but they want a particular type of man, right? That represents that class. And that's what they start railing against black men for. Because they're not going to rail against white zaddy, of course not. So,
no, not against white men. Yeah. Interesting. I do know she's in a relationship. I don't know the full context of it. I was like, okay, great. She found someone who works for her. Great. Mm-hmm. And now me personally, I've always found it. I just think personally it's bad form if you're in a relationship with a man in general and you consistently just down talk men. Like I just personally think that that's bad form, just me. And then especially if it's like, okay, if you're a black woman in a relationship with a black man and you consistently have black men's name in your mouth and it's negative, like it just seems strange to me. It's just, if I'm just being honest. Now, and I'm like, I get it. Like black men aren't perfect. There are definitely things that could be worked out. That goes without saying. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, men need to check men. Women, black women, there's so many challenges, so many issues, so many things impacting us that like we don't really have the space or capacity to be trying to point out error in the life of black men when there's so much ish going on in our own, you know what I mean, among us. I mean, that's the way I look at it. So I'm like, I don't feel it's my place to be here all the time talking about what black men aren't doing when it's like black women are not doing well. Like that's the immediate concern, at least the way I see it. But you know, not everybody has to see it like me. That's just
with this video, Shay, I see her as end of the day anyway. If he's not falling out the state, can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, you cut out for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, my apologies. But no, what I see her saying in this video is essentially, what's the point of being good? What's the point of being a chaste woman if I'm not going to get the type of man I want at the end of the day? And you caught that when you saw what she said, like, I'm not going to get the $250,000, 6'1" man anyway, so what's the point? And that's really a sticking point for many women, I would argue, in the West, particularly black women, particularly black American women, is what's the point of doing these things if at the end of the day, it does not get me the ballerific, like super chisel chin man, whether white, black, Latino, or otherwise? What's the point? Okay. Because that's where the bar is for me, and they see relationships with men as inherently oppressive, right? This is a feminist thought. And if relationships with men are inherently oppressive, if I have to be in a relationship with a man, he got to be a baller. Because why not? Why am I subjecting myself to his oppression if it doesn't come with a fat paycheck? You know?
That's an interesting. No, you are right about the relationships, marriage being oppressive and slavery, which is why the whole premise of the conversation to me again is quite strange. But that makes sense. And I'm like, honestly, I think that's a more honest conversation. If the conversation is why can't I get the men that I want, then it's like that would be a good starting point. But the whole, well, it doesn't matter if you're good or evil or bad or whatever. So just do whatever you want. Don't have morals and standards. Sleep around. Treat your body like whatever, and because it doesn't matter. That to me seems equally as detrimental. Because at the end of the day, if you're not dealing with the core issue, which if the core issue is you can't get the man that you want, even if you sleep around and you go in and out of bed, you're still going to have that frustration. That may be an attempt to try to hide it or cover her up, but you're still not addressing the core concern, which is that you are frustrated or mad that you can't get whatever kind of men that you want. So it's like, you should just attack that head on. Let's just say, why aren't we getting the men that we want?
I mean, there was a particular content creator, I don't know if you have a rule about saying their names, but that addressed this once, right? But for the most part, I don't see female content creators addressing this. You said go ahead, or no? I'm sorry.
Wait,
there was a particular female content creator that addressed this once. And outside of that, I don't really see any of them addressing that.
Oh, you're talking about addressing
the fact that they want a particular type of man. This is about looks, and et cetera, et cetera. And
are you talking about Rebecca Lynn Pope until she kind of changed?
No, Stefco. She addressed it, but Kim Foster's pride won't let her address that. She won't admit that.
Oh, when she was like, when you're talking about when Stefco was
pretty girl privilege video.
She was on it, and I could appreciate. Look, I've had some of my now, and I don't know if this is more common among certain cultures, but like I know some of my friends who are white have been like, yeah, I'm not the prettiest, but I'm this, or yeah, I'm not that, but not. But it's like, just kind of be honest about, like, this is where I rank, and so they go for it. You know what I mean? Like, I had one friend of mine, a white girl. She wanted a dude who was like 6'2". That was like, she was a short girl too, but she really likes tall guys. She ended up getting with like a 5'5", 5'6" dude who was 300 pounds. But he's a sweet, amazing man, great father.
Yeah. Well, because you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to pay. If you want 6'2", 6'3", you're gonna have to pay. If you want looks, you're gonna have to pay.
Right. Right. So, okay. I think we got like a couple. Okay. We're getting there.
Because people who are building things understand the value of marriage.
That already is like, wait, the value of marriage, Mr. Z, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't marriage slavery under the feminist framework?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's across races. You don't have to explain you don't have to convince them. They use their eyes, they look around and see, oh, all the most successful men that I know are married. Why is that? It's a real easy equation. That's why
y'all hear the smug in her voice, right?
What are y'all?
She really do think she's better than us, y'all. This is not just Harvard education. This is, I came out the womb better than y'all. Harvard education just made me even better. This is Kim Foster, Superwoman. She was born on Krypton. Hey, that's smug, y'all. I'm telling y'all. that smug got enough pressure. That's a black hole right there. That's swallow stars. God damn. Go ahead, Shay. My bad. Go ahead.
I'll say this. It's like, I don't pretend to be an expert in Kimberly Nicole, her ideal. I haven't listened to her nearly as much as you, so I can only speak for some of the few things that I have heard. I have nothing against her personally. I just think this breakdown had a lot of flaws and errors in it. I just addressed it. And I do think at the end of the day, there should be a question, or I think a push for more honesty. Like, instead of saying literally in the comment section, like the top comment in that video, there's a woman who was just like, we need to continue to push to deprioritize relationships or marriage as a badger of success. A woman is successful and a great person whether she's in a relationship or not. That was like one of like the top comments in there. And I'm like, yeah, this is consistent with feminism. So the very fact that you're like punching at something that you've already devalued and saying that it doesn't matter to you, but then you say that it does matter. It's like, I just feel like we're talking in circles. And usually I think when women talk in circles, it's because they're not getting to the core issue. As you mentioned before, it's like, if there is a group of women, there's many Black women who just are upset that they're not married. And instead of saying, I'm upset that I'm not married to the man that I want, instead of acknowledging that, we have to come up with all these spiritual or psychological or emotional or philosophical reasons to address that real core issue.
Hey, Shay, I never won the lottery, but
You're
right?
cut out.
Right? Screw it. I'm not gonna play. I'm never gonna win, and I don't want to win anyway. That's these women. I don't want to get married anyway. I don't want that lifestyle anyway. Is it because you know that you can't get it, particularly from the type of man that you're desirous of, right? You can get Kim Foster can get married. I've said this before. Ketanji Brown Jackson is not. She doesn't look too dissimilar from Kim Foster. Kim Foster went to Harvard. She could have got married to a plethora of black men or white men. But when you hear her speak, you can tell why she's not married. Kim Foster, it's not your look per se, it's that attitude though. And you don't want to change that. And I am perfectly okay with women, black women specifically, speaking like Kim Foster, but then eat the consequences of pretending like you don't want to get married, particularly to a particular type of man, and then just eat that. And aren't you in a relationship anyway? Shouldn't you be happy? I'm just saying. Anyway.
Yeah, because she said that she doesn't want to get married, so it shouldn't. I mean, this shouldn't be a frustration point. And that's where it's just like, the more we listen to us, the more I'm just like, wait, I think you're talking in circles, because you said it doesn't matter to you. You're not pressed about getting married, but then you said people understand how valuable and good marriage is, but then marriage is slavery. But then all these women over here can get married, and it's not fair that they can get married. The black woman can't. So it's just like,
but Shay, marriage is slavery if it's to a normal or poor man, particularly, this is the thought process of Miss Harvard educated Kim Foster. If it's not to a uber wealthy man, then it is slavery. Why would I, as a Harvard grad, a black woman who found myself in the halls of Harvard, I graduated, why would I ever be with one of you plebes? Right, which by the way, okay, that's understandable. I mean, you did go to one of the premier Ivy Leagues on the planet, but clearly you have this chip on your shoulder about black men specifically, right? And I'm gonna move out of Obsidian's way because I gotta let this brother cook. Go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I'll say this real quick. What's going on, oh man, and then I'll let him chime in, because I know you guys, I think, have had more of a history. For me personally, I couldn't remember back when I was on grad. I went to Berkeley. I didn't go to Harvard, which is not Ivy League, but I think it's like the #1 public university, if not in the Asian nation, worldwide. So it's a pretty well accredited school. And at that time, I was specifically getting advice from different people that I know at church or whatever, of just like not focusing on relationships, not focusing on marriage, not to mention that there is a huge feminist push, especially in a place like UC Berkeley. And so I can look back at my early years in college and know that the reason I wasn't in a long-term relationship or marriage, it wasn't because there wasn't opportunity there. It wasn't because there wasn't options. It's because I was in the mindset at that time to not engage, if I'm just being honest. And it's funny because at that time I was also in circles that were being like, oh, well, in God's timing, and this, and like adding all this kind of spiritual language to it. But at the end of the day, I was not making myself available. I was truthfully unavailable, and I had already decided I'm going to focus on my career and I'm not going to date. So that is why I left college and was not in a relationship, was not married, because of that. But it's like black women, we operate like that because we have aunts and we have sometimes moms or sisters or girlfriends or people at church who will push us to not engage during some of our prime years. And then when things don't happen how they want, then we want to blame it on other things versus looking back and being reflective and being like, it was my decision, my fault, whether I truly knew it or not. I did that. So how do I change and do better? Or how do I change to get myself out of the situation? But they're not willing to really have that honest conversation. And I can say that as somebody who did that. So it's like, this is no shade. Like, I'm not, trying to just like middle finger. I'm just like, I can say that as somebody who did that and as somebody who knows what black women are told and have been told and how they operate. So anyways, what's going on? Oh man.
Hey, how you doing, Shay? And what's going on, Mr. Z? How y'all doing? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, you're coming in a little low for me. I don't know about Shay.
Yeah. You actually a little low too.
Yeah. Okay, how's that? Better?
That's better.
Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking maybe instead of me just going ahead and straight ahead cooking somebody, maybe we could just have a conversation here. And me and Mr. Z, we're more familiar with Miss Foster's exploits than you are, Miss Shay. So I think what we'll do is we'll come at it from your point of view. You're somebody that has a limited understanding of who she is and where she comes from. So we'll start from that premise. Shay, how many videos have you seen of Kimberly Foster?
I did, I think, a review of her a while back over something. I don't even remember what the topic was. So I've probably seen that, truthfully, a handful.
A handful. So we'll say 5 or 6. Okay. So
at most. Yeah.
Given that 5 or 6 max that you've seen, do you come away with the impression that Miss Foster is either intellectually honest or possessing of self-awareness? Do you get that sense?
Ooh, intellectually honest or possessing of self-awareness. When you say intellectually honest, do you mean like she specifically withholds information?
That yes.
Lying by omission.
But not only that, but also is not presenting all sides of an issue. 1, and 2, do you get the sense that she is possessing a tremendous degree of self-awareness? What is your gut tell you about that?
My gut is that she is a black feminist through and through, which means she's coming from things from a black feminist point of view, which is largely going to be emotional, and some emotions are not necessarily logical, which is why to me sometimes things can feel like they're talking in circles. Now she has the language, she has a vocabulary to come across very educated and very astute, but in some of the different things that I've heard, it's just like, okay, this is a really complicated way of saying something that was emotional but not necessarily logical.
So let's do it this way. Watching now, we're just going to focus on just this particular situation here.
Yeah.
What is your feminine intuition telling you here?
My feminine intuition is telling me that there's some gaslighting here, and that we're not getting to the core issue. And I think I missed it, but in the comment section of their videos, you'll see the truth. At the end of the day, it is women, I think, who are trying to tell themselves that marriage don't matter, when they literally spent the entire video boo-hooing that they're not married to the men that they want.
So here's where I'm at with this. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but BGS Idmore, about a year, 2 years ago, something like that, he did a video. Mr. Z mentioned Stefco. So what he did was he took Stefco and put me side by side.
Yes.
And he said, the approaches of these two people, Stefco on one side and Obsidian on the other, is completely different. Obsidian, he played a portion of a interview that I did with Dr. Tia-San Johnson. And Dr. Tia-San Johnson just at one point in the interview, it was like over an hour long, but the part that BGS played got right to the heart of the point he was making. So Dr. Tia-San Johnson said, well, listen, man, you're a pretty successful guy, Muslim guy and all that. Why didn't you never get married? And I said, oh, that's real easy. Because the women I wanted didn't want me, and the women that wanted me, I didn't want. The end.
Mr. Obsidian, if you don't mind, Obsidian said it. Obsidian not only said that, he got his explanation out, and I want to say 3 minutes. Mr. Obsidian, it was so quick. You said that, and all the explanation was out, and I clocked it. It was like 3-4 minutes. It was gone. Now, here's the other side of that. The juxtaposition. It took Stefco like 30 minutes. Do you remember that, Obsidian, when BGS played that? It took like 30 minutes. That's
exactly right. BGS, he used that portion of the interview, and then he juxtaposed it to Stefco, and he actually excerpted the actual video itself. Was like an hour long or something. But what he did, it was a really long clip and really roundabout, rambling, the talking in circles thing and all the rest of it. And the point was, BGS was getting at was that, black men approach mating very differently than black women do.
Yes,
and the main point that he was getting at is, he said, a brother like Obsidian understands that if he's lacking something that black women want, he's going to have to compensate in some kind of way. But black women don't accept that if you're lacking in something that the black men you want, you're going to have to do one of two things. Either you're going to have to compensate or accept the men who do want you. And for black women, that's extremely difficult to accept.
Okay, no, that that makes sense. And that goes, she literally said it. I mean, when she broke down her type over 6 feet, a quarter
mil plus. Mm-hmm.
Right? I think a college educated, presumably handsome, has a social status, probably charismatic, probably loyal, faithful. I'm adding all that. So she broke down the kind of men that she and most women want, right, in that space. And then, but it was so interesting to me that was juxtaposed with the section where she was like, oh, they talk about body count and they talk about alimony and kids. And I'm just like, okay, so now you've described what you want, but then now you're shaming their preferences. And that's the problem. If you want those men, like, you can't do that. If that's their preference, that's their preference. You know what I mean?
Right. So I mean, Black feminism really is about that when you really boil it down. It's about Black women who cannot accept that they are lacking in that which the men that they want desire, and are not willing to come to grips with that and see if they can compensate for it. In my case, I can compensate for a lot of things. I'm short guy, but I can compensate for it. Number one, I can dress my ass off. Number two, I'm smart. Number three, I'm very funny. And number four, I out-earn the vast majority of Black men. And this explains the reason why I can get a woman that is on par, and to be brutally frank, beyond Kimberly Foster in terms of educational attainment and stuff like that. I can do that. And she's 5'10". I can do that. A man, it's easier for a man to compensate than it is for a woman.
Well, and that's real. I mean, I think this was on the other live when I was sharing about a good friend of mine that I know who literally got out. Oh, maybe it was on your show where he got out of prison at 36. He got out of prison. He had been locked up for like 21 years. Dated a single mom once and was like, I can't do a single mom. Do you know this man is married right now with 4 kids, owns a home, runs his own business, is doing well. And I'm like, similarly, I know women who are in their 40s. And it's just a lot. It's harder. It's not to say that you can't. You can still find love. You can still do things, but it's like you just have to be realistic about. You just got to be realistic about what you're working with. And men, my friend was able to marry somebody significantly younger. I don't think he was necessarily going for that, but nevertheless, he was able to do it. I think she's like 10 years younger than him.
Yeah. So Black feminism's real problem isn't Black men using Kimberly Foster. Their problem is Mother Nature. It kind of reminds me of what Thomas Sowell over at Stanford Hoover Institution once said. And this is a feature of the left. They're out for some kind of quest for cosmic justice.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And being a moderate conservative, I'm center right, but more on the moderate end of it. I take a much more tragic view of life. That's what the classics teach us. Those old dead white men, and Shakespeare and, and Herodotus and Plato and all. That's what they teach us, is that, life is very often very tragic. And we live in a physical world that has limits, and that we are not supernatural beings, that we have to exist within a 3-dimensional sphere in which, Newton's laws of motion come into play, and gravity and other things that come into play, and you have to work within those constraints. And if you're on the left, you reject all of that. You just and what do you think the whole woke thing is all about? It's a rejection of all those things under some type of rubric that it's white, it's male, it's dead, it's old, and so on and so forth. But it doesn't work. It doesn't deliver results. What's fascinating to me about Kimberly Foster, and by extension, she's relatively young, but the song that she sings is a very old story. And we're looking at Black feminism per se. You're looking at well over a half a century old. And what's fascinating to me about that is that its acolytes never look at these ladies and track their success or the lack thereof. It's never measured. I come from a world where I have to produce results. In the 22 years since you brought up the whole class thing, as a 22-year, trade union man, my job demanded results. You either did the job or you didn't. And if you didn't, there's going to be hell to pay. There's no office politics. There's no shuffling around the papers. There's no busy make work. You either got the job done or you didn't. Period. So, and I take that same position, what I do now with regard to the Black manosphere. I have to produce. I have to make things happen. Because people are looking at me. When I was writing my first book, people said, well, how long does it take for him to write the book? And blah, 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 blah. As soon as the book came out, the haters shifted the goalposts, and I anticipated that. But the question about when the book was going to come out, that was killed. Live events, how come the Black manosphere hasn't got any live events out? We got the first one done. Again, the goalpost was shifted, but the whole question about live events just stopped. Mm-hmm. So I have a powerful incentive to constantly move the needle. But the Black feminists, and what's interesting is that they're acolytes. It really is about making them feel good. Feel good that I'm not going to go ahead and say this. You're not saying it, and the views expressed on this channel don't necessarily represent Shay Sade, but I'll just go ahead and say it. It's about making them feel good that they're losers.
Oh. Mr. O, let me vindicate some of us on the left real quick. I said this to you before. Kim Foster is hiding because you notice when that classism come out. You notice when she starts sounding conservative and she start doing the do for self thing. Whenever it come time to talk about Black men, all of a sudden, all that we all in this together, kumbaya, we all the world tree hugger, all that go out the window, right? So and there's a lot of these kind of talking heads, not that don't have the gravitas of a Harvard education behind them, but they sound real. When they start getting into their bag, they start going further and further to the right. We damn near end up in Auschwitz when some of these I wanted to call them sisters, Black women start speaking, right? So the thing with Kim, and I agree with you 100%. She is one of these people that tries to intellectualize their misandry. She is angry about her station in life because of her looks, and she does not want to do the things to make up for that, right? And so
not to cut you off, but let's just get right to it. She was at Harvard. Yeah. She had in theory at least, had the run of the pick of the men there. Mm-hmm. We can look at brothers who went to Harvard. Do any of them look like Kimberly Foster? Barack Obama and Michelle Obama both went to Harvard Law School.
Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Ralph Richard Banks, who is a law professor at Stanford Law School, wrote the Bible for swirling is marriage for white people. He's married to a very prominent Black sociologist. Does she look like Kimberly Foster?
What's the dude that got locked up or didn't get locked up but got arrested in Massachusetts? They had to have a beer. Obama did to have a beer thing.
Henry Louis Case.
He don't even look like Kimberly Foster.
Right. So my point, just to wrap up, my point is, again, if you're coming to the dance and you're barely a 4 as a woman, you're going to have to be really nice. You're going to have to be really pleasant, really accommodating, really deferential. And that's for Black women in general, looks aside for a moment. For Black women in general, our culture does not inculcate that. That is considered demeaning. That is considered wanting to kiss a man's ass. That's considered, some Black women, even they consider it abusive. They consider it. I've heard Black women use the word slavery.
Abusive, oppressive, it's reverse racism.
Right. So these things actually inhibit a sister like a Kimberly from actually, compensating.
Your prejudice against ugly people.
No man of the caliber that she expressed in this particular video is going to go for a sister that's barely a 4 with a whole lot of mouth and attitude. It's not going to happen.
So let me look, if I may, because there's been a lot said. So you mentioned, because I know Miss Foster is very accomplished, and like I said, I personally platform. I don't come on and rate women. I'm not attracted to women, so I don't think that's really my place. I just kind of, I try to keep the looks out of, apart from
Sade, I'm gonna just say this before you say anything else, and I already can tell by the way you kind of looked. The problem is you haven't seen her without makeup. So we all
you haven't. Yeah, I have.
See, I saw that picture you had, and that's a good picture to have. That's a picture she's promoted over there.
Yeah.
We've seen her without makeup, and I'm gonna tell you that shit is witchcraft. But go ahead. And I'm not even saying that to be mean. Shout out. I'm not saying that to be mean. I've seen the difference, and it's jarring to me.
No, it's huge. It's huge. It's huge.
Well, and I'll say when I think too, just being honest, as a woman, being around women, it's like you just don't go after looks like that's off code. Like as a Black woman to go after unless you like really want to tear her down, like y'all are being nasty and you're going back and forth, like it's off code for you to sit there and rate a woman's looks. I'm just a part of.
I understand.
Well,
I'm not saying it's right.
But Ed, here's what I will say to this. Just 10 seconds. Ketanji Brown Jackson has a white husband. I want to know what Kim Foster excuse is.
I mean, what's the chick that created Me Too? She got a dude that's 6 foot.
Yeah. They were engaged a couple years ago. Yeah, true. Gabrielle Sidibe got a white husband, y'all. I'm just saying.
She doesn't want marriage. She out of her mouth.
Yeah.
She said.
What's the Olympian? Did she won all the medals? My bad. She's short. I messed up. I feel bad. I can't remember her name.
Simone Biles?
Yeah, Simone Biles. Look, Simone Biles is not a model. She's not ugly, but she's not a model. But she has an NFL player, and she went and got it.
Yeah.
She went and grabbed him, and he didn't even know who she was. He said that, and then he had to look her up, and then they're married now. So this idea, because the color, we all miss the favorite thing, which is colorism that they always like to bring up. And I'm not going to be up here longer. A couple of things I just want to say really quick, and I'm not going to freeze it. Obsidian, as far as what you said with that, they want to be made feel good about losers. I call that the lie to me economy. That's what I call it. Shout out to the show, Lie to Me. That's what that is.
Economy? What do you mean?
Well, which is, and this is true on both sides, but it's mainly on the woman's side, but it can happen on like game. You can qualify game in some ways as that too, but it's not as bad. The lie to me economy is when people basically they're listening to a person that has in their mind the credibility. Let's say Derek Jackson's an obvious example. Derek Jackson is a man that these women like how he looks. He is, accomplished as far as he's made money. But Derek Jackson tells these women what they want to hear, and he says it in a credible way to where it's not 100% BS. It's like 70% BS, but Derek knows how to sprinkle in a little bit of truth to make himself more palpable. And you see this in other women, as you see this in women as well that do this, or when they're jumping into this mode and not in this mode. Chrissy does this. She does her favorite thing is colorism. Paris does it as well, but Paris shows her face, so it's a little bit more credible because she's not an ugly woman. Crystalline Carrison does this. Her idea was that there wasn't enough black men out there. See Ebony K. Williams doing this as well. Why now we got to do a black-owned sperm bank. These women, because they're accomplished, because they've succeeded in whatever field they have, it's credible. So it's like if they're going through this, there must be a greater problem. This is why I typically tell dudes to stop arguing with these women unless you're a content creator. Don't argue with them in comments and just tell them black men ain't shit. You are right. Go date out. You have my permission to go into the general market and go in. If black men I do not want black men to be the reason why black women are being held back. If you cannot find a black man that's on your level, then you can interculturally date. Like I tell these dudes, Tasha K figured that out. Paris figured that out. Y'all got a whole bunch of other black men. Nigerians are supposed to be the most educated. It like to come over here. That's statistically shown. So kudos to them, even though Indians make the most, if you break it down in,
they do.
And so,
120.
Y'all pick. I mean, especially when you look at Kimberly Foster, first thing I'm telling her, why didn't you get you a Nigerian? Why didn't you like, there are educated men. There's a lot of educated dudes in Europe, black men. If you want a black man, if you don't, you could go hit up Lori Cutno. Because she's forever talking about dudes. That's the queen of intercultural dating. But Ro is like a feminine Nazi, meaning she's gonna dress. Oh, well, yeah, and she would admit to that. When I say feminine Nazi, what I mean is black women hate her with a passion. You've never seen black women hate. You think black women hated Kevin Samuels? Black women hate her with a passion because she will literally undress you with every little thing She pretty much says April Mason is basically a man. That's what she said about April. So we already know when you look at Kimberly, she will break. If you're not feminine, you will get broken down. Because she doesn't play that, but she's all for dating interculturally. My thing is, go be great. My question with Kim is, why doesn't she go be great?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I want to stress this again.
I know.
Said that she doesn't want it. If what she is saying is true, that she doesn't want to be married, then this shouldn't even be a conversation.
Exactly.
Well, it's another time to punch down on black men. That's all. And I told you this. Stop looking for logic. There's no logic there. Number one. Number two, I'm really trying to stress this. I'm really trying to tug us in a different direction. Stop calling these women masculine. They're petulant children throwing a temper tantrum.
No, but when you say that children, you give them an out, because children are not supposed to be accountable. And by the way, also, this is why looks matter, because if 6 says that she doesn't want to be married, that has more credibility behind it. If regardless if she's a single mother, where I get her pass, but because men would want to marry her just off the looks, versus when Kim says it, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's kind of like if Lizzo says, I don't want, no, you know what? It's like, no, I'm not going to do that to Lupita, because Lupita's actually all right. It's like when Lizzo says she don't want to be married. It's kind of like, or you know what? F that. Let's say like a chick that used to look good, like Vivica Fox or Claudia Jordan. We'll go with Claudia Jordan. That's a good one. Claudia Jordan. At one point, she was great. White woman dipped in chocolate, that type of stuff. But her time has passed. So, or Aisha Tyler. That's another one. She let the white dude, use the best of her years. And now she's like, I don't want to be married. Or what's Tracy Ellis Ross? I don't want to be married. Well, that time for that, you were kind of right on the wall at Girlfriends, and that was what, in the 2000s. Yeah, you've been missed that boat. You can't even see the iceberg to hit your ship. You're so far from it. And dudes are not going to go out of their way to say that. Like you said, what they'll do is they'll do what women consider worse. They'll just be indifferent.
Yep.
Ed,
let me say this to Ed.
We won't have these. Tracy Ellis Ross says she doesn't want to marry men. Okay, we may talk about it for a day because it's fun, but it's not going to be something that we have a whole, like Pearl. We did a whole month of the Pearl show. It just became a nuclear weapon. But hell, to be honest with you, black men gave Serena a better send off, and that's really because we fought the good fight when it comes to all these white dudes saying that you look like a monkey. A whole website. You married the dude to create the website that promoted that, and we wanted our time back. That was what it was with Serena.
But Ed, let me say, I got to say it because there's a reason why I say look at them as petulant children throwing a temper tantrum. It's not to infantilize them. It's not that they shouldn't still be held accountable for their actions. It is to say, just because they're trying to intellectualize their misandry, it's not masculine, right? Because you're actually doing a disservice to masculine by saying these women are acting masculine. They're not. They're throwing a temper tantrum because they're not getting the results.
What I want to say is TRANS, but I can't say, I'm not going to say that on this platform because they be listening. That's what I really want to say. I usually call it TRANS energy, because it's that both. It's that I don't know what lane to go. So how you put two opposing, like positive and negative electricity, creates all this. It's kind of like that, real static, real crazy, real violent as far as how electricity goes. But if you say that, then all of a sudden, you gotta be 18 to watch a video, and
right. Yeah. You guys, if you're here, be sure to hit the like button. Show some love and support to this channel if you like what this is about. Cash App, Venmo, Share Day. Also, as always, I'll be sure to acknowledge all super chats. I'm trying to think I think Jermaine, you have not spoken yet. I will not be taking any more calls unless you guys send in a super chat. So if some of y'all want to call up in, then be sure to send at least 5 more super chats because we're kind of low today. Otherwise, what we got in the panel is what we're going to be ending off with. You can go Jermaine.
Yeah, can you hear me? Want to make sure.
You're good to go from my end.
Okay, so Shay, as two people who are kind of Bible followers, I just want to kind of go into the whole, I guess, standard she has of the 6'2" $250,000 earning guy. That is not marriage standards, and that's not really like a mate standard. That's more like the female version of a trophy husband, right? Like, so short guys they would buy they would buy a big truck. You know, they would buy a really nice car. Maybe if you're like balding, you'll get something. So you kind of overcompensate for that, right? Her, I don't want to disrespect her by saying this. She's not the trophy wife looking type of girl. So I think what she wants to do is make up for that with a trophy, something of stature, 6'2", quarter million. Because a guy could be 6'2", make a quarter million, and be a jerk, right? He can be a DV, a guy that does DV, alcoholic, all of
And
this
now
stuff.
he's controlling. Go ahead.
Now he's right. So it's not; those aren't standards that you have for a mate. Those are standards that are, I guess, would be called the male standard of the male version of a beauty standard, right? 6'2". So I wanted to go into that too. I don't think it's just she prefers a 6'2" guy, or she just is only attracted to that, because, like you said, your friend wanted a 6'2" guy, ended up with a guy that's 5'5", right? So I see this a lot. A lot of girls have all these standards for all these guys, and they end up with something that's not that. I also wanted to go in. America is the 5th richest country in the world as far as average income. Canada is the 6th richest country in terms of income, average income. If she wanted to find a guy that made that kind of money, she's in the right place. So it's not that men aren't out there, right? There's only like Sweden and a few countries above
You're
that.
breaking up a little bit,
She
bro.
could find that in these 2 countries that are neighboring each other. If she really could.
Yeah,
But it
I
seems like
mean,
she can't.
yeah, well, she can't because she's not up to standard, and that's
Breaking up.
and it's not even about her looks. And I'm actually about to leave, but I'm gonna say this. And look, y'all heard what I said in the beginning when I said, go to the greater market and go win, because there's always this thing like black men got a chain around a dog collar around black women, and this is why they don't date out. Which is a lie, because black women actually sleep out a lot more than gets reported. It's just black men don't care and don't want to know, and black women have no incentive to push that out, because if men actually know they do that, then men might feel less guilt about it. But my point is this: Fantasia has had her relationship issues. She got sued by a woman in North Carolina because she cheated on her husband. Ooh. And they put that law on her where the woman can sue the person for aggravating, the union. Fantasia is married to a guy that's 6'2" and makes over that number. That's Fantasia, right? Yeah. Issa Rae is married to a guy. He's a banker, I believe, that's 6'2" and makes well over that number. Doesn't make what Issa Rae makes, but when you look at Issa Rae, I'm not trying to say Issa Rae's ugly, but Issa Rae did not get like some, off the street dude that can't get. When I say street dude, off homeless dude that can't get other chicks. Mm-hmm. And by the way, all these dudes signed the prenups. By the way. They said, "Oh, that's it. Here's a prenup." Technically, Tiffany Haddish, who I would say is attractive than the first two, more attractive, got Common. Serena Williams, who's very accomplished, Drake, Common, ended up with what she ended up with. May not be a 6'2". I think he's like 6, maybe 5'11", but he's tall. Yeah, okay, so he is. Okay, good. So you see what I'm saying? These are not supermodels. Mm-hmm. These are not women, and these are all African featured women. So don't play that. The nose and everything, maybe not. Issa Rae maybe be on the thinner side, and they all got it. And there's my point is, if you're intentional about what you want, you can make it happen. But the difference is, all those chicks, even if they got an attitude, they know how to check it. And by the way, this is the same Issa Rae that told you it was a good idea to go get an Asian man. She wrote that in the book. She's dating that dude.
She did it to Wilcox too. She was when Wilcox had the show. Go ahead.
She was dating that dude that she was with for a minute. So and by the way, she comes from a different culture. I think it's Senegalese. I'm not sure, but Lupita. Well, technically, she ain't with nobody yet. But still, my point is,
Lupita was in a relationship right now.
She might be. I'm talking about married though. Because that's, I guess, that's the metric that she's standing. So even on the strength of what she said, there are women now. Technically, all these women do technically look better than her if you've seen her without makeup. And I'm not trying to be stupid, but that's a thing. Because some people like SWP, they've been following her for years, and she used to not show her face. It was for Harriet, and that's why I'm serious. I literally, her voice, because she just has the patron saint of black men ain't ish in her voice. Like some of these is so embedded in this culture with some of these women, you can literally hear it in their voice. Just like with the divester stuff, it's in their voice. Like Carrots, and that's not unique. That's that Valley girl voice. And that's how you know how deep it is. And so my point is,
the myth of white womanhood.
Even if we lay this stuff on equal grounds, it's not colorism, it's not black men's fault. What they really want to say is, I can't get the man that I want because black men are so bad that they actually that blackness of mediocrity actually impacts me. That's literally
that's Ebony K. Williams. That's what she was saying. That's exactly what she was saying. No, you're right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So anyway,
it's something that the brother is Jermaine's fault was saying. Look, there's preferences and revealed preferences. There's your ideal. The issue that many of these women are having is they're running around the world on a blowhorn, on a microphone, yelling what they will not settle for. And this is a positive for black men, but a negative for black women, because you're yelling from the mountaintops, which you won't do, what you won't settle for. And it's going to be real interesting when you're going on dates with dudes that don't look nothing like what you were talking about, and they are what you settled for.
Oh, and especially when they come into another racial package. I don't want to lame unless he's white.
Right, exactly. So, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, this whole thing could probably be summed up if there was just a little bit of honesty. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm not here to sit here and rate a woman's looks. That I don't think that's my place. You guys have the right to, have your preference.
Man, what BGS would say women rate other women all the time. Like, you may not do it. I know you got friends that do it. Even in they were real bad in the church. You come in there with clothes. Black women talk about that. They may not rate your looks, but they'll rate your dress.
Oh no! Here's the thing.
Ask Megan Good.
Women do it. No. Women do it, and women, when they want to be petty and catty and tear each other down, they start talking about edges. They start talking about lace front. Usually, they start with the weave, and the weave not being on point. Then they'll look at the makeup if you have it on.
They rated Gabby Douglas's edges.
Yeah, an Olympian while she was going for the medal. They talking about this girl looks.
A black girl magic.
It's what I'm saying. So no, women do it. I'm just saying, for me, because to me, I'm like, that can go down a rabbit hole to me. That's like not even dealing with the initial issue. I'm like, there's enough to impact on just what was said for us to talk about. The looks component, that's a whole other conversation, because yes, truthfully, you're right. If you do want to have a high value, the 6'2", and to be clear, I guess women were a lot more vocal about. We're a lot more like it's normal for us to say what we want and not expect pushback. Women can say he need to be 6'2", he need to have a full beard. I prefer if he's dark skinned, I prefer if he's light skinned, or he needs to have color hair. Like, women can say that and nobody bats an eye. If a man is just like, okay, but I want a woman who's short, or I want a woman who's size 4 or whatever, we already know that's considered misogyny.
Oh, so, you want a woman that's short? Oh, what are you, a pedo?
Yeah,
6'4".
Exactly. So it's not comfortable. It is not comfortable in this society for women to be physically be judged, period. And I think for me, I just don't tend to do it because I'm just like, it's more like, okay, what is actually being said? To me, that's enough to unpack. I could go down and be like, oh girl, let's look at her edges, look at her this or this or that. But I'm like,
no, and you shouldn't do that, because quite frankly, that doesn't serve the point. That's definitely not going to serve your channel. But what I will say is, if I never saw her face, and I'm gonna be like, I don't even want to bring up Melanie King, because Melanie King's an attractive woman, but I've seen what she looked like before surgery, and she was attractive before surgery, but the difference is there, like even in her face, is there. But she was attractive. Yeah, so that matters, but so I don't want to just make it just about Kim, that way y'all can't say, oh, you just said that because she dark skinned. But what I will say is, Kimberly Foster is ugly if I've never seen her face. How she sounds, how she comes off, the energy she projects, if I just heard her over the phone. Now, you got women that they can sound great and be fat, and that's catfishing and stuff. She can't even pass that test. Like, when I listen to her, I have to take some Tylenol.
You can. Look. I will say, and don't ask me for it. I'm not sending it to nobody. there is a picture of a certain content creator, the Colors Queen herself, floating around. I have it. I'm not sending it to anybody. Don't ask.
I don't. I see. I never. I never
I've
knew.
seen it.
That
I've
reminds
seen
me
it.
of Obsidian. You know,
Let me
he
just
go
say
Ciara
this.
said, "Do you remember
Let
what
me-
you did to me?"
Right, exactly. Yeah. Chrissy did the same thing. Boy, they hate you, Mr. O. They hate you, bro. They hate you. But they. So I've seen, and let's just say you understand why. It's not her dark skin. I'm not gonna call her ugly. Y'all notice I don't be really going in on women's looks either. Mr. Z don't do that either, because I don't have to. Right? But
Actually,
I'll
most
just say
of us
you know
don't.
why. Yeah, if you see the picture, you will be like, oh, okay, I know why. It ain't your skin tone. Stop it. You know why niggas ain't.
And by the way,
know.
Mr. Z, to be fair, that was a woman that originally leaked that, by the way, because she was supposed to reveal her face at like 100. No, most of these. Oh no, most of these like biggest blows that these women have had. I mean, other than Obsidian, because Obsidian had threw some haymakers too back in the day. But like a lot of it was women. So if you got some of these channels where they watch them a little bit more, they report, do Obsidian, observe and report more than a lot of us will. They will tell them, when they get mad, they will put it all out there, man. They really will, and I don't really pay attention to that because that's not what I'm here for. So I don't really focus on that stuff. But the reality of the situation is, what I don't like about the Black community in regards to this is it's like Black women can't be socially awkward. Everything is reflected on what the men do, and that's not true that's actually originally what I wanted to say. Every other group, feminism is kind of universal as far as how it happens, it affects in different ways. But the thing about it is, women, even what you said about the looks piece, white women now they can, but traditionally they have not been able to just throw that stuff out there because they will get checked, and a lot of times they'll get checked by other women. The men might not do it first. What Asian women, they'll check. Their aunts, they will check their women. Hispanic women, you've been up here that some of them have talked about it. They talk about that, like that, how that. I heard some of these people talk about how that mentally affects them. But at the end of the day, they would choose that over other stuff that they've seen. Because I guess so, and all of that is the women checking the women accountable. That way, the men do what they're supposed to be doing because it's a fair deal. In the Black community, we don't have that as much. We used to. We don't have that because it's been seen it's effective targeting the men by uplifting the women. So now the women don't got to deal with anything because the greater situation that you got this class warfare, whatever you want to call it, white supremacy, whatever you want to call it, white supremacy. It elevates women in order to keep going at the men to the point where the women are actually invested in that elevation. So this is why whenever you talk about fuck doing something for Black men, you talk about doing something for Black boys, there's a problem. And these are women that got sons. It's like, if somebody does something for Black boys, that's gonna help you as a single mother. You know what? I had a crazy thought today. I was in my car eating. I was doing something, and I was in a parking lot, and I saw an Asian woman, and I don't know why I don't remember seeing this before, but I saw an Asian woman take an Asian little boy into a dojo, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, wow, if you could, even though it's rare you see Asian women, single mothers like that, it does happen. Where would an Asian woman outside of her own family get a boy masculinity, which is something she doesn't, even though you got the Tiger Mom stuff like that, but something that she couldn't get? I said, they have the dojo. Arab women, they obviously have the mosque. Now, obviously, they're going to get checked in other ways, but I was like, in the Black community, we don't have this. But here's the thing. People say, well, that's Umar. That's what I said. You niggas are helping these boys. But guess what? You know how much it costs to teach somebody martial arts? It's like $200 a week per person. It's expensive as crap.
Yeah,
there's a cost to that.
So
anyway,
I mean, really, at the end of the day,
free masculinity.
When it comes to marriage, relationship, Mr. Obsidian has broken this down extensively in his book. There are standards on both sides, and I think women, those who are serious about wanting to be in a relationship, especially if they want a particular kind of male, a successful kind of male, they need to be honest about where they rank all across the board. Of course, there's the internal qualities, the femininity, personality, all that, and there is the looks piece. You can't get around it. You, like I said, you can't shame men for preferences. You can't, you know, the patriarchy, the hierarchy, the all the isms, the misogyny, or all that stuff. At the end of the day, you need to know where you rank, and if you don't know, then just ask a man or look at the things that you attract. Look at the kind of men that you attract. That can generally give you a good understanding as to where you rank when it comes to the looks department. And that's something that is really hard, I think, for women to sit with. But it's a reality that we're not getting around, because unless men just somehow wake up one day and looks doesn't matter and evolutionary biology changes, unless that happens, they're not going to change being visual creatures. Is this, you know
BGS would say women know looks women know where they rank at like 11 years old. He has said that multiple times. They know. They just be lying about it.
Just don't
Because it's almost like they feel like they'll Jedi mind trick us into believing what they say they are on paper, even if it's not, like, even if we both know this is not what it is. If you say it long enough, then it's, you know what it is? It's okay. I had this there's a meme that goes around maybe once or twice a year where it shows how much dates cost per state, like the average first date type thing, right? And when you go through the comments every single time, it's women, you know, they're lying, like, oh, that's all y'all spending on first dates? And you're like, could you stop lying, please? We know you never been on no $400 date. Stop lying. But you will find, and it's mainly sisters, let's be honest, just, and that's the minimum. $300 is the minimum. $250 is the minimum. Oh, that's all y'all spend on dates? And it's like, wait a minute. So wait. Last time I checked, the Black community is largely working class, working poor, lower middle class. So all of y'all are just going out on first dates with $400, or even if it's not first date, y'all all going out on $300, $200, $150 dates.
Yeah, if you can get Brad to do it, more power to you. That's what I say.
But and that's it's all about lying and gaslighting you, right? So that you spend that. So if I tell you that every person I've ever dated spent this type of money, then you know that this is the standard. But it's a lie. And I think Black women have convinced themselves that we actually believe the lie if they say it long enough and hard enough. And it's like, no, it's not. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
How would you even, like, seriously, if you're going out on the date and he's paying, how would you even know how much it cost? Like, there's like, when I was like dating different guys, like there was never a time where I was like, okay, let me check to see how much so I can write it down. It's like, you go out, he grabs the bill, you're relaxing. It could be $500, it could be $50. You don't know. I mean, maybe if you look at the price,
they be knowing because they be drinking all that alcohol. They be running up that bill. I've seen it, like, you know, especially in places like New York. Like they be falling for that too, man. Like it.
Somebody who's being petty and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to." This is
Foodie calls.
I've literally seen situations where they'll have parties of like 6 or 7 people, and 2 of them will be dudes, and then them dudes got to split like a $1,700 bill. No, and I'm like, you all are idiots. And then they be knowing they not gonna get none. I'm like, you're an idiot. I've literally had a dude tell me, why do you do that? Because he does it over and over. He said, man, I'd rather give it to them than give it to Uncle Sam because, you know, he gets taxed heavy. I said, yo, you need to talk to a fucking tax professional, and because that's some bullshit.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay, guys, I gotta wrap this up pretty soon.
So, no, that's it for me, Shay. I'll just make my closing now. Look, I contend, I don't have any. My issue with Kim Foster is I do see it as tragic, right? Someone said that earlier. I think it was Mr. Obsidian. I do see it as tragic. I do see her situation as tragic. Not as much. It's not necessarily that I feel sympathy for her as much, but it is tragic that a Ivy League educated Black woman spends the predominant amount of her YouTube career, which has garnered her some real success, intellectualizing her misandry. And it's not beneficial for the group of people that she claims to care about. Black women. Black women are damn near destitute as a group, right? And for you to continuously, you and these other content creators, to continuously essentially tell Black women, well, it's better you be single than be out here with one of these no good Black men, one of these 50-50 black men, one of these lowly black men, one of these peon black men. And those are not her exact words, but that's the sentiment, right? And you're further pushing black women that already are in a vulnerable situation economically further down this road. And you should be held accountable for that, right? You should be held accountable for knowing your position and how they imagine you because of your Harvard education, and you intellectualizing misandry that you then bring down to them like the goddamn tablets, like Moses with the tablets, and say, look, I found a way for us to cope with being single, instead of going out there and trying to make something happen. Well, anyway, and I'll pause right there. Thank you for having me up, Shay. Shout out to the old man and Ed, and I'll end right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I'll say is this: Crimson Cure said that she was in the what do they call it, the female accountability niche, more so than the black manosphere at this point. So you got you, Pink Book, you know, folks like Didi and stuff. So that's good that there's like an independent, or you know, pretty much independent group of women, and it's like a whole thing where it's actually growing, and you are seeing it on TikTok, because ultimately only women can say this. Like, as far as they're concerned, they're gonna say we're dudes, you know, we're lying. And so that's the thing I'll leave at that from a positive end, because that wasn't there before. So anyway.
Yeah. No, yeah. I appreciate you calling in. Definitely, y'all definitely had some interesting things to say. And ultimately, like I said, if these women out here want to have successful relationships with men, whether they admit it personally, right? They admit it openly, or they know in their heart, then it is important to understand what those men want. You know, me personally, I'm how do I say this? A couple of things. If you want to be married, you know you want to be married, period. And if you're a woman, you're constantly looking at who's getting married, you're looking at engagements, you're actively trying to convince yourself that it's not important, then you probably want to get married. Just call a spade a spade. With that said, we live in a society, especially as Black women, when we are told from day one, right, that it's not that important. You should get your career, you should get your education. Trying to find all these ways to try to convince ourselves that it's not important, when at the end of the day, a lot of women still have that desire. I think marriage is a beautiful thing. I highly recommend it. And I think it is great. Covenant marriage between obviously God, man, you know, or between man, woman, and God, that's ideal, right? But with that said, it doesn't just happen. Marriage is not just like luck, right? Or the stars aligned, or the universe. No, it doesn't happen like that. Like, you have to be prepared, just like you need to be prepared to work at a particular job. You need to be prepared to graduate from college. Like, there's preparation that goes into even learning how to be a wife, learning how to have a relationship. And there are also qualifications that go along with it. And so I think instead of, you know, trying to either intellectualize or blame it on systems of oppression or blame it on misogyny or whatever, it's important to understand that there are some real practical components to it. If you want to be married, you can, but you should probably be prepared for it. If you want to be married to the elite kind of man in particular, it's important to know what those men want. Elite men generally don't necessarily care, high value men or whatever. They still, at the end of the day, care about a woman's looks, if she looks the part, her personality, all of that. Career, accolades, degrees, that may be cool depending upon the person. It may not be cool depending upon the person, but you're not getting past the looks component. You're not getting past the femininity component. You're not getting past the ability to get along component. Like, you're not getting past that. Like that, those are like basic fundamental aspects of being able to attract a man, especially if you want a man who is successful. That is highly important. And so I think when it comes to these conversations, it really is quite simple. I just think there is not a lot of comfort around addressing the things that can be hindrances, whether it be our personality. I mentioned earlier in this live stream, when I was in college, I wasn't thinking about getting married. I wasn't looking for a relationship. And so when I left, I wasn't married. I didn't have a relationship because I actively made that decision. It wasn't God's fault. It wasn't the universe's fault. It wasn't because, you know, Black men have this, nobody gets or whatever. I put myself in a position to where I did not have a relationship when I got out of college. That was my doing. And so it's like, it takes that level of radical honesty to start to look at, what have I done at this point? What am I doing? And are my actions reflective of what I want? If so, great. If they are not reflective of what I want, how can I change? So a lot of this marriage relationship stuff is really practical. It's really simple. Like I said, having the basic relationship skills. Looks as a woman do matter. If you want to be with a successful man, there's really no way around it. And ultimately, what the man actually desires, his preferences matter. We can shame it. We can say it's misogyny, misogynoir, futurism. We can say whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, if you want a particular kind of man, especially if you want a successful man, or then you need to know what they like. Because if you're not in agreement, they're just going to go somewhere else. And I think that's where it's just like getting really basic, getting down to that nitty gritty stuff, having a good personality, having a good spirit, a spiritual, healthy spiritual walk, I think is largely important if you want a man of God. That is essential. Taking care of yourself, looking the best that you can, and being honest about where you rank in the beauty scale. This is real life. This is real life. You can, like, say it's oppression, you can try to break down all the systems and all these preferences that men have, but at the end of the day, they're there. So it's like you kind of figure out how to work with those preferences, work with your own, work as his, and make it work, or you don't. But let's not make this some super mysterious, thing that only Black women experience, and it's because of racism, or it's because of God, or it's because of the universe, or it's because of color. Like, let's not make it any of those things. It is incredibly practical to do so. And like I said, however, it does require radical honesty, understanding where you are at personally, as far as where you rank, not only looks wise, but essentially just your core values, who you are as a person, what you have to offer, and what it is that you want in a relationship, and then also understanding what that person would want. So really, really, really practical things. I think it's really important to try to disconnect from all of the extra barriers that are added to this conversation that truthfully don't exist. And I think that would, for me, I think women would have a lot better results if they're willing to just kind of be a lot more blatantly honest about what could be going on. So those are my thoughts. I know too, a side note, I know the whole ranking your looks is something that women hate to do. They hate to do openly, but it is a reality of the world that we live in. So to me, I don't see it as necessarily you are better or you're worse of a person, whether or not your looks fall anywhere in a particular scale. It's just about you understanding how that impacts you in life and what that means as far as what you get access to, and you move accordingly. So anyways, those are my thoughts. Be sure to like before you leave. Share this if you found it interesting, and stay tuned for other upcoming content. This was a very interesting conversation. I'm like talking over myself now. I need to get some food. I'm hungry. And we'll talk later, guys. Okay. Peace. Peace.